Pioneers of Esports podcast. Get ready.
All right. Well, tonight we have an interesting group of people on the podcast. So right now we have some of the best Dr. Mario players in the world with Vince. Say hello.
Hi guys.
And we got Patrick. So you guys have been playing Dr. Mario for quite some time, right? And I think that that's kind of where we're going to start this discussion, just because I know that that's Packie's claim to fame. Packie, go ahead and tell everybody what you did to achieve, I guess you could say, greatness within the Nintendo World Championship circuit, right? You were a finalist, correct?
Yes.
So talk to us about that. How did that come about?
Well, it started on May 30th, I want to say. May 30th, 2015. 30th or 31st. It was the 2015 Nintendo World Championships qualifier in Torrance, California. Drove a couple hours down to the Best Buy. I only had the Wii U version of NES Remix at the time, so I didn't have it on my 3DS, which I think was actually kind of a plus for me. But
like trading with weights on your back.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. Like swinging with 6 bats or whatever. But I got there maybe an hour before it opened up to start. I just kind of waved to people in line randomly, and I think Vince waved back. But I mean, I didn't recognize him at the time. But
I was going to say, did the two of you know each other at that point? Had you talked online? Was there anything? Or did you just both know that, it's like as two rivals pass each other, you have that aura around? Was it kind of like, ooh, there's a rival?
there wasn't that feeling, because
Okay.
I had no idea who he was. I had no idea who anybody was there. All I knew was I heard about this from like YouTube, and they were playing NES Remix as the qualifier, and I'm like, I have to go. This is my game.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then
Of course.
I happened to also be at that particular Best Buy. And so, Vince, and I know that the two of you were in line pretty close to each other there, because what I do remember was wanting to see what the scores would look like, and, go up and see a 5 million that was replaced almost immediately after by another 5 million plus. And it was just kind of one of those things. So Vince, talk us through that. How did you get involved in Nintendo World Championships?
I mean, I heard about it. I've always loved Dr. Mario growing up. I had played, with friends in, my early 20s a lot. And then I heard this was happening, and I was pretty good at just beating all my friends. And I didn't have a 3DS at the time, so I went out when they announced it and bought a 3DS, bought the game, and just started practicing that week leading up to, I guess, May 30th. I don't remember the date, but
yeah, it was Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, so I was doing good. I figured out, I remembered the NWC, like how to kill yourself in Mario, what to do in Mario 3 trick, which a lot of people didn't know. And I was, I think, on their online board, which I know they do change at times, right? I was second place. John Numbers was first with 11 million, and I had 8 million. So I was like, oh man, I'm going to go to this Torrance thing and see what's going on. And I got there, I don't know, I think I showed up at 5 a.m. and I think it was 11th person in line. And it was a lot of fun just to hang out, talk to people. I mean, I overheard a conversation where people were talking about Ecstasy of Order in front of me.
Nice.
Awesome.
And then there was some other people talking about the scoreboard online, how they think those were cheaters. And I'm standing right there knowing that the second score is mine. So I just kind of stayed quiet for a little while. And then people were practicing. Everyone had their 3DS out, and they all weren't doing the Super Mario trick. So I thought I only had one shot at competing. So I was like, I'm just gonna share the news and tell people that this is a faster way to beat Mario 1. So
always the nice guy.
Yeah, no, a lot of the guys changed their way. I actually met a friend in line. There was this guy Jay Laura. I didn't know who he was. Me and him chatted about it for a while, and before I went up, he pulled me aside. He was like a Zen master guy. He's like, let's have a Zen moment and clear our heads. And
it's great.
We did that, and I went in there and I put up the 5 million. I remember my 3DS was different than the 3DS provided the start button was actually in a different position
Yeah.
than the one I had. Mine was like the top right was the start button, I think. And that one, so after the first scene in the first level in Dr. Mario, I didn't know where the start button was because I was just innately trying to push where I thought it was. But it was like down in the middle.
That moment of panic.
Oh yeah, I don't know how many seconds I wasted in that moment, but 2 seconds, I don't know. Maybe I could have gotten another double at the end there. I have no idea.
You never know.
Never know.
I get the feeling I can demonstrate right now what Vince means.
Oh, you got it.
Well,
right.
on
I
the
have
two different
like I
DSs
have a
sitting in
2DS
front of
right
you?
here, and the start button's up here. But on the 3DS XLs that they were pushing at the time, the start button's down here.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you're looking for the button, unable to find it. So you mentioned a couple interesting things there while you were kind of walking us through your time at Torrance. So let's go way back to the beginning. So you mentioned that, you knew the trick from the NWC, the 90 cart, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
What's your history? I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about CTWC, which you're representing on your shirt and everything. What is your history with the Nintendo World Championships?
I mean, as a kid, I didn't know it existed. So I wish I had known. I think I would have been 7 years old in 1990 or 8. So I had no idea it even happened. So I guess my relationship to it is making Ecstasy of Order and becoming friends with Thor Ackerlund and Robin Mahara. And just, we've been good friends since that movie. So for the last 10 years, I think it's been crazy. The year 2015 when Packie won Torrance, Thor came down and he stayed with me. And while he went to the event, we both went together. I was his +1. So
nice.
Yeah.
So how did you get into that? Like, what made you decide to get really into the older Tetris and go with the Ecstasy of Order? And what kind of brought you into that world?
Well, I'm a collector. I collect Nintendo games. I have a full set of every Nintendo game with box and manual, map, whatever have you.
Nice.
So I was on Nintendo Age, and that's how I ran into Robin, who I taught how to sell things on eBay. At the time, he was asking to, I think, sell purses or something, which I was like, all right, I'll help you out. That was before Robin became this like sealed collector guy. He had some old NWC posters from 1990 that I was just chatting him on the message thing on Nintendo Age, and I was like, oh, why don't you want some of this stuff? I was like, sure, I'll take some of your Nintendo World Championship stuff. And he sent me like the Oakland poster. I don't know if you guys seen it. It's like an 8.5 by 11 on cardstock thing, and he folded it up. Like he folded it in 4. And he sent it to me, and I got it in the mail, and I was like, "Did you fold this?" And he was like, "Oh, I folded it." Yeah, so he admitted to folding something that was like this beautiful poster. So
oh my god,
I was like,
that's painful.
I was like, next time maybe don't fold it.
Right.
I still
So
have
very
a folded
cool.
one. Yeah.
Very cool. And so, okay, so you were collecting. You kind of what got you into Tetris?
I mean, I just remember Tetris from when I was a kid playing with my
So you
mom.
used to play it a lot then.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have crazy scores. I mean, I knew how the game worked. We would just play until you died, and then the next person goes. So you would start on level 0 and play 20 minutes. I don't know, it was forever. Level 0 was forever, as we all know now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Tetris was the game in the Nintendo World Championships. That was like the first Tetris tournament. So
absolutely. And then Packie, so I have a question for you then. So there seems to be, some kind of a little bit of a rivalry is what I hear, that there might be just a little bit of a rivalry between the two of you. I don't want to ask Vince. He's way too nice. He's not going to admit to it.
I was wondering why we had both on at the same time. I mean,
Sure you were, Chris.
I'll cut into Packie. I'll cut into him.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. So talk to me about that rivalry and how that started. So apparently 2015 was kind of the beginning of that, even if you didn't know it at the time. The two of you were within, 200,000 points of each other?
400,000.
400,000.
Something like that.
Oh, so sorry, I didn't mean to cut your score in half there. So 400,000 more than Vince there. Okay. And obviously you both went through once, and we've talked about this many times on the show. So if anybody is wondering, Unfortunately, there was a rule change right in the middle of the tournament in 2015, where basically it was supposed to be something where you could only play once. So anybody who played really early left and didn't know that they had the opportunity to continue playing. So kind of rivalry born then, or when did you actually meet Vince and start to actually form that rivalry?
Well, I was browsing around after I had learned that I won the qualifier, and I think I found like an internet comment somewhere about somebody saying, "Man, you should have seen what happened in Torrance. Apparently, some guy was just standing there playing the entire time, and needed to play like 50 times to beat Vince's score." And I'm just, I'm a part of me is just smiling and shaking my head, but inevitably.
There was somebody probably doing that, but it wasn't them who got the score, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm guessing it's a half truth. I can't imagine they completely made that up out of thin air.
I'm sure that there were a lot of people that were playing over and over again. Just like a little bit of a side note for anybody who's curious. Like I said, I was there too. I actually saw somebody who had a 1994 Nintendo World Championships jacket on. And so, of course, I went to talk to them being a finalist myself. And that was Patrick Trainer. Wait, not Trainer.
Wyrick?
Wyrick, thank you. Sorry.
I know because he was right in front of me in line.
Okay.
I was eavesdropping on you too.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. Okay. So, yeah. So I was talking to him. I'm like, hey, they're only going to let us go through once. I don't know if you're in a rush or not, but I'm certainly not. I'm going to go over to the Starbucks and just hang out there and play all day because I wanted to be able to charge the DS. I figured get in as much practice as I can, come back around, an hour before close. And so, but I hadn't left yet. And the only reason that I did that was because of the two of you. I was going inside to check the scores. I saw Vince's score, and then I could swear it was either maybe 2 rounds, maybe 3 rounds later, I saw Packie score, and I said, okay, these guys just got 5 million. I'm consistently only scoring about 4 million. I'm behind. I can't do this. So I was new to Dr. Mario from this style of play. I've always played speed play. Like I was always, okay, well, let me clear 20 high, 24 high, and just, continuously loop 24 high. So I never really tried building for score. And it was Mike Iorosi, the Nintendo World Champion from '94, who was talking to me about the right strategy to play it. And I was like, all right, I'm getting 4 millions. That's not enough to beat these guys. I'm just going to leave. I'm going to go practice all day. So Patrick and I went and sat in the Starbucks for hours and hours and hours. We came back an hour before it closed. And we saw the same people going like right back into line. And we're like, wait, what?
Right.
And so now at that point, it was just like chaos, and all of these people are playing over and over again. And I'm sitting there trying to do my best. And I actually had my best game at the time when I played, but it was just shy of, I believe it was just shy of Vince's score, actually. I think it was like just over 5 million. And I was like, well, I didn't win this. Would have been great if I had known that there had been, the ability to play over and over again. But because it was my high score at that point, I can't really say that it would have done me any good because I didn't get any 5 millions when I was sitting at the Starbucks anyway. So that was kind of my entrance into this rivalry as well. There was a rumor going around that I was standing there playing all day, and I in fact was not.
Jerk.
I in fact was not. I wish I had been, but again, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. So I actually never beat that score. So kudos to you guys for.
So Vince, you're like group 2. You get your 5 million. You just leave.
I get my 5 million. I think I was in group 2. I was number 11, I think, or 17. So I was in group 2 or 3. I get my 5
8
million.
or 12 at a time. I forget. I think it was 8 at a time.
I don't remember.
I think it was 10 or 12.
Yeah.
Maybe every location was different depending on their space, but
right.
Yeah.
So I get my score, and then I needed to buy some speakers for my stereo system. So I was like, I'm at Best Buy. I don't often come to Best Buy and buy something in person. I would usually buy it on Amazon or something. I was like, I'll stick around, hang out, see what happens. So I go, I buy my speakers, maybe 30, 40 minutes pass. And then I went and checked in with the Nintendo rep guy and asked, what the high score was. And he told me, this is where it gets a little fishy for Patrick's scores. He told me it was still my score. He told me it was still the 5 million. So then, and I asked, can I play again to the rep? And he said, no, it's one person. One person, one try. And so I just was like, all right, what am I gonna do? Hang out at Best Buy all day? So I just went home. I went home, posted some pictures on the internet. People started calling me because they're like, "Oh man, Vince, you went in there and you crushed it. You know, you put up the 5 million, which I guess ended up being the second highest score of one attempt in the day."
Yeah, you would have won every other region pretty much.
Right. So my friend James, who's a fellow collector, he offered to fly me to San Francisco that day. So we were actually doing it. I was doing it. I was like booking a flight to go to San Francisco to go play at Best Buy and return the same day. And right when he gave me he's like, "I'll fly you there. I'll do it. You know, if you win, just, you know, I'll be your +1" was the deal.
Nice.
So I was like, sure, whatever, let's do it. I'll go to San Francisco for 4 hours and come home. So ended up right when I pressed submit or whatever on the airline website, it said you had to go to the airport in order to
buy the
book
tickets,
flight or whatever. But James was like, why don't you win 2 cities? Like totally blow up this whole thing. At that moment, I thought I had definitely won. I was like, no one's gonna put up over a 5 million on one try.
Right.
When the I think that was like the 5th or 6th highest score on the rankings at that point.
Yep.
So I was like, I got this, you know. So I was feeling fine, you know.
So, Packie, what was your high score at that particular time? You said you were playing on the Wii U. The Wii U leaderboard was, if I'm not mistaken, Vince, correct me if I'm wrong, it was numbers and then you on the Wii U leaderboard, correct? Or was that on the 3DS?
Yes.
That is the
I was on the
3DS
3DS
leaderboard, actually.
That's
the Wii
right.
U leaderboard
the Wii U maxes out.
Wii U
Yes.
maxes out
Wii U
and it
goes to
resets every
7.9
day.
then.
Oh, I didn't realize that part.
Yeah, it resets every day.
And now it doesn't even exist because it was attached to what's the Miiverse or whatever, and that's now been taken down, so you can't even submit a score on Wii U anymore.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so 3DS is still available because it's its own thing, but Wii U, there's no more competition.
To answer the question I thought you were going to ask, though, my personal best at the time was 6.9 million.
Okay, so a 5 something was very respectable. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's an interesting set of games. I thought it was a really good tournament cartridge. I wish I had known it existed because it actually was a great card. I somehow missed out on the whole remix craze until that tournament came about. So I'm actually glad that it gave me the ability to kind of play through it. I thought it was fun to play through the little mini games and everything. So very cool on that part. So okay, so you guys were actually pretty close. Not as far apart as I had figured. I wasn't sure where Packie was kind of sitting because I don't remember the leaderboards very well, obviously. So so it's funny that the two of you ended up in the same place. The only other place being, of course, where numbers was in New York. So Chris, as my historian, what was the third highest score in the tournament?
Well, the highest score was in Texas, and that was a duel between Jordan, aka Jackson Blackson, and Patrick Scott Patterson, and they knew of the retry rule, so they were going back and forth the entire length of the tournament. So they hit the 6 million mark, both of them did, near the end, but they had who knows how many tries that they could get in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. So I think you have to put them in a completely separate category. But yeah, but even John Numbers only had a 4.7. So and then everybody else, all the other winners had in the 3 range, including me. I was 2.97. I didn't even hit 3. So
I think there were a couple of them that were under 2.
Yeah. I don't remember.
Tacoma was pretty low, right?
Yeah, well,
Tacoma and what was Timsy's? Timsy's was a 2, right?
He was in the 2s. I don't have the list. Let me see if it's on here. But yeah, everybody was in that 2 to 3 range. It wasn't. Nobody was breaking 4 other than John and then you guys and Jackson. But again, that's if I had all day, I think I would have hit a 6 eventually too. Although my high score at that point was in the 5s. So, you know, but again, that's one of those RNG heavy games when you just have to have the right moment and it's not like the 90 cartridge where you can get pretty consistent scores.
Pattern.
I'm not gonna lie, RNG helped me a lot.
That's awesome.
Like, in your run there for the 5.4.
Yeah, I I think I was on level 2 or 3. I don't remember, but I was setting up something big because at the time I had like 26,000 points on Dr. Mario, and I was like, maybe this isn't my day, but let's just build a big combo and see what happens.
Yeah.
And I start building up a chain of like 8 or 9 viruses, and I back myself into a corner. I need 2 specific pieces. I need a double blue and I need a double yellow. And so I'm just kind of stacking stuff everywhere and just hoping for something to happen. And then I see the double blue come up. I was like, okay, there's one. And then the next piece is the double yellow I need.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
The doubles apparent. I mean, I've heard different sources on the RNG and Dr. Mario, but the original version I've read is the double pieces are only a 1 in 9 chance, whereas the red, blue, yellow, blue, like those combos are 2 in 9 chance. So you have double the chance of getting those as opposed to a same color piece, because they count
red, blue, and blue, red are considered different.
They're considered different pieces. That's right.
Interesting. I wonder if anybody's ever kind of gone through and tried to confirm that. Like, I mean, nowadays they can deconstruct ROMs and everything. So
right. Yeah.
I mean, Vince would know a lot about that with the way that the Tetris card has been deconstructed at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, people are, they look at the actual code and can figure out what the actual, probability of any next piece is.
So to spell the myth for us, is it more rare to get a line than any other piece in Tetris?
No.
So it's all even, and everybody who complains about it is just complaining.
I mean, it's more rare to get a line after you've already gotten a line. So you're not going to get 2 lines in a row. That would be the only time a line would be rare.
Right. Rerolls, correct? If it gets the same piece, it rerolls, so then you actually have to get 3 in a row to get 2 in a row.
Right, yeah. So that's my understanding as well. So it rerolls when you get a piece.
Mine just blown. All right, hold on. Yeah. So it rerolls after every piece or after specifically the line?
See, if you get whatever piece you get, a square, you got a square. And then it's a 1 out of 7 chance for the next piece to pick whatever random one it has. So if it picks a square again, it will ditch that and roll again. But if it picks a square on the third roll, it will send out the square. Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm going to make Mike Iorosi watch this tape. And here's why. I got 5 squares in a row, and I said that I had never seen anything like that. And he said, that just means you haven't played enough Tetris. And now I actually know that it is super rare to get 5 squares in a row.
Well, it's basically also you got 9. Yeah.
There's also a thing with the RNG, the mechanism that generates the random number can get caught in the same loop. So if you're playing rhythmically, you can manipulate that RNG, maybe subconsciously. You're not doing it on purpose, but when Jonas is playing or something, you'll hear about Z burst, and that might be the fact that he's playing so perfectly and it's rhythmically hitting right where he wants him every time. That's why he's getting those Z bursts. Because the random it's not an actual random number. It's a clock mechanism, I believe, right? I mean,
I have no idea.
So it stops so I think that's how the random. It's not like an actual roll the die. It has electronic whatever counting clock cycles or something that uses that as a random number. So
I mean, to be fair, there's no such thing as a random number within the NES carts for sure couldn't possibly generate random numbers. So it would make sense that it would use clock cycles for that. And I've never heard of that particular theory, but I could understand why that would make sense. And it's actually super fascinating. I'd love to kind of look deeper into that. One thing about Tetris, I still think, Dr. Mario, I know you guys love it and all. I still think that Tetris is the best puzzle game of all time. So even though I suck at it and I'll never max out or anything like that, it's just fun.
Not with that attitude.
Dude, I can't play 19. If I could play at 19 speed, sure. But 18, I'm fantastic all the way through 18. My high is like in the 700s, but that doesn't do me any good when I can't Tetris on 19. So.
Got to play 19.
Yeah, no, I just play 19 nonstop. But then there's real life time and everything else that just gets in my way and garbage. So have you both maxed out yet? Like, what's the?
No. We're both sitting right there though. I'm at 911.
890.
He's got you.
For now.
For now.
Okay.
There's 4 guys. Me, Packie, Robin, and Dave Lopez that are right on the cusp right now.
Robin just hit a 950.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
D'Lo is struggling. He's getting really frustrated lately with his inability to break the 9, which I told him, stop paying attention to your score and you do better, because what happens is inevitably he gets to the point where he realizes that he can actually achieve the 900 if he plays and then miss drop dead. You know, I'm trying to
tighten up.
Yeah, you can't.
You
can't look over the score.
You don't have time to focus on anything else when you're playing level 19.
That's right. You got to just stay in rhythm. You got to make sure that you're just paying full attention to that. And it's something he'll get over in time. You know, I think that he's hit his own hurdle, because, I mean, these are his best games. Like he never scored these when he was younger. So it is really cool to see that he's doing that. But yeah, he'll get over it. He'll get the muscle memory. He'll get past the nerves and everything else. And I think he'll get up there. But yeah, if I were going to bet on any of you, I would go ahead and say, yeah, not you, Packie. I think Vince is going to hit the I think Vince is going to hit it first. How do you like that? How do you like them apples?
Shots fired.
So one thing I'd love to see someday, and this is kind of something that I've been thinking about, but I haven't ever brought up. I would love to do an exhibition match in Tetris and Dr. Mario for SNES and see how you guys actually do in that against each other in that mode. I forget what it's called, but you know, like mixed match. Yeah, that one. Have you guys played that before in exhibition?
Oh yeah. No.
You should have said no. I'm just kidding.
I have not. I have not played Packie in that.
I'm thinking about at one of these, maybe at like a Game On or something like that, or what, I don't know. Maybe if you both go to Pittsburgh or something like that, maybe we could set up a Tetris Dr. Mario tournament. Sure. For everybody to kind of play in and see if we can get some interest in it. I think it'd be fun to watch some people play both, even though I know you guys are going to dominate it. I don't think there's anybody that's as good at both games as the two of you.
Is there any scoring formula in that?
So you play Tetris, you get 40 lines, and then you have to clear a board in Dr. Mario, and then you play Tetris forever. Something like that.
It basically is timed. You get to set the time limit and the levels for for everything. Mm-hmm. And it's just pure score. The thing is, if you top out in Type A before the time's up, your Type A score resets.
Oh.
So is there an exploit, like is with the Dr. Mario scores being exponential? If you have a kick-ass Dr. Mario board, does that throw the scoring off for the Tetris portion? I believe both players, if you pick the same level and height for Tetris B-type and the same level for Dr. Mario, you both get the same board.
Okay.
But it's also, there are multipliers, right?
Are you asking, are the Dr. Mario points worth more than Tetris points? Is that what you're asking, Chris?
Right. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, like, it's obviously a different scoring system. It's apples and oranges. Mm-hmm. So is a great round of Dr. Mario cannot overcome an amazing Tetris game?
It depends on what you set the speeds at. I mean, Tetris level 9, each Tetris is worth 12,000 points. Right. So if you want to place a heavier emphasis on your Tetris score and your Tetris skills, you can set the Tetris portions for maybe level 9, and then set Dr. Mario for something on low speed, because low speed is worth less points on Dr. Mario.
Right.
So you also have to consider the faster you get out of Dr. Mario, the longer you have in Tetris anyway. So I think that the setup isn't worth it within Dr. Mario. I could be wrong, and this might be something that's kind of being theory crafted. Right. But from what I remember, because I used to love Tetris and Dr. Mario because right. Oh, that's what we do, right? I used to love Tetris and Dr. Mario because Mike was always better than me at Tetris, and I was always way better than him at Dr. Mario. So I'd be like, yeah, let's play that mode where I actually have a chance, you know? So right. The key was getting out of Dr. Mario as quickly as possible to be able to get more Tetrises within Tetris. So I don't know if the point totals are going to be worth it, but I think it'd be worth trying that to kind of like play around with the scoring before we actually run a tournament in that. I think it'd be fun to run a little side tournament somewhere.
Sure.
And it'd be cool to kind of understand the scoring before we do that, to make sure people can't just exploit it and ruin the tournament.
Right. Right. I remember back in the early Tetris days, I would play some of the Tetris masters in that game, and I could catch up to them because I could beat Dr. Mario really quick. Yeah,
exactly.
So I had more Tetris time than they did, and it made it close. like playing Jonas or Harry or whoever.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly how we used to do it, like with Mike Irosi and I. So I mean, I've known Mike my whole life, so like we've always been competitive in every game, and that was kind of like my one thing that I could beat him in Tetris was being able to get through the Dr. Mario quicker. So yeah, I think we should play around with that. I think that'd be interesting to kind of play around with the scoring and whatnot. I'm assuming I mean, obviously, you're both going to CTWC and up in Portland. Maybe we can play around with it a bit while we're up there, or maybe even here in California since we're all local anyway.
Side event.
Yeah,
well, not that Reds
fan.
No,
not there.
I'll bring my copy to Pittsburgh too, so why not?
All right.
I think I have it somewhere. Yeah.
We got to play another game of RBI pitchers.
Oh
yeah, God.
I found a website that you can hack your own RBI baseball ROMs. So I made all of the batters have the pitcher statistics, so they all hit for shit. And Vince and my boy Scott were playing to like 18 innings. Nobody could score. Nobody could score.
Oh my gosh, that sounds terrible.
Well, you made the defense was really good too.
Right. Like everybody was juiced up. The pitchers were juiced up, but the batters couldn't get it out of the infield. So it was all about bases and
dead ball era.
Oh yeah, old Haas Rathborn was. Sports ball references.
I wouldn't even know any of those references, so it was all lost on me.
Whatever's. It's. I've got some wacky ass ROMs on that. We also juiced all the players up to maximum, so it was like what 20 to 15 or something. But and what? So we're kind of getting back to the story of you two. Vince, you're just assuming that you got effed over. Right, like in the time between the qualifier. I mean, there's a big movement on Atari Age, and everybody's saying Vince is the real champion. Give Vince a chance. And between that and the eight invitees, everybody kind of assumed, or not everybody, but we assumed that the 8 people on the leaderboard would get invites because that was 8 slots. It kind of made sense, and then we found out later it was just 8 celebrity types and speedrunners. So
I don't know if my feelings are hurt. I thought it was a little weird that they told me that I could not try again. So I just went home. I mean, I got there, I don't know, 4 a.m. I think I left my house. Got there at like 5:30, 5 whatever. And then I'm not going to just stand around. I was tired. I wanted to go home, go take a nap.
Right.
So I went home, and I think around like 3 o'clock, somebody told me, like after the whole flight thing, that maybe I was going to San Francisco for a couple of hours. Someone told me that they were letting people retry in Torrance. So I could have, had I gotten in my car at that moment, I could have maybe made it there and played a game or two, like by 4:30 or something.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know. I thought at that time my score was still in the lead.
So you weren't keeping up on social media, like who was winning and that sort of thing?
I didn't see anything about who was the 5.4 million that Packie got. I didn't see that was the score in Torrance anywhere. I saw what was going on with Texas and stuff, and people were texting me because I posted a picture on Facebook of my score, and everyone was getting really excited for me. I mean, I really appreciated that people were in my corner surrounding that whole event. I mean, Patrick Scott Patterson invited me to E3, got me an E3 pass because he felt bad. I don't know if I necessarily got screwed over, but I mean, I wish the rules were clear from the start.
Right. It was an interpretation that one city had that another city didn't, because I believe the actual rule was the first 700 people. And if the line is short, then one city is going to say, oh, well, get back in line. You're number 396. So, but another city would say only one person, one chance. And then that's what happened. And I saw on social media that one city was allowing retries. So I go back and say, hey, this city's letting them try. Are you going to let us try? And then they said yes. And here I am. But well, I was in your corner. I knew you from beforehand, which is this is just an odd quad of people here that we've had all these interweaving paths, and it wasn't just NWC that brought us together. We could have been here even if that didn't bring us all together. So
I knew you since the first Tetris tournament. I think you sponsored it with the now you're playing with podcast.
Yeah, my old podcast back in the day. Yeah. It was sponsored ever since the third one, I think. I don't think we did the second one, but it was the early days when you were still when $100 was a major sponsorship back then.
Right. Yeah. No.
Yeah, surprisingly, I didn't meet Vince until the 2015 when we were sitting in the front row together.
Right.
That was when I met both Trey and Vince. I hadn't met them previous to that. Somehow, even though we had very similar circles, we just never crossed paths.
Never,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure we were at a bunch of the same events in California here.
Definitely, 100% for sure. Yeah, which is pretty cool. You know, it's kind of funny how like, things just kind of fall into place eventually, right? So
right, yeah.
Yeah, and I've always appreciated the work you've done with CTWC. And you know, I wasn't aware of who you were or anything, but of course, I was always kind of watching it in the background. And whenever I saw it was happening, I didn't know too much about it because, again, I hadn't played Tetris in years.
Right.
But you know, I was just kind of watching it because it was always interesting to see how the game had evolved so much and everything else. Because it did. I mean, no matter what, even the best players from the NWC back then, they weren't as good as the people are today, obviously.
Except Thor.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Thor was maxing out even back then. Absolutely. I would love to see what that would be like to see like Thor in his prime versus some of the top players today. Like, I think that'd be awesome to watch.
I mean, I guess he'd probably be a lot like Joseph, you know, just high hyper tapping his way to a championship, you know.
Yeah.
But Thor could stand and do it. I challenged Joseph one time on his stream about, why don't you try standing up like that? He's like, are you kidding me? And I said, Thor did it, dude. He's like, oh, you're right.
That's my favorite rule that you enforce at the Dr. Mario Championship. That you have to
hate
stand.
That rule.
I hate it, but I love that you enforce it.
Thor, he was hyper tapping with his left hand, wasn't he?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure he was, which is why he's able to do it standing. Whereas like Joseph uses the right thumb coming across the thing to press it, you know.
Yeah, doesn't he like put his shirt between the thing and Thor? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
See the video, it's up close and he's got his shirt between his thumb and his okay.
Which is funny because that's how I used to play what was that, Mario Party games, like where you had to press it quickly. You used to take shirt, you know.
Oh man,
you gotta get that glove. Did you get the glove in the mail when the first Mario Party came out? That people were complaining because it was rubbing their hands raw.
Yeah.
So that you could call in and get a glove sent to you.
Yep. That's so funny.
So let's at the 2015 finals, you guys are doing your thing in the front row and you got your clique of Tetris people. Packie is on stage with me and we're doing our thing. Were you aware of any of this going on with the controversy of the other places, Packie, or were you just kind of oblivious to it? And because people are kind of calling you like the quote unquote cheater for playing multiple times. When did you hear about that possibility?
Well, if they want to call me a cheater, they're welcome to come down anytime and throw down.
Well, I know that. But you kind of like, okay, go ahead. I'll let you tell it.
I was aware of the controversy, but I was also aware of the truth. So it didn't really bother me as much as it could have.
Yeah. And I will say I didn't know you obviously at the time. Yeah. And I did hear that there was controversy around that. And I was telling people, no, I was there. I saw he only played once and it was like very shortly after Vince. The real tragedy is the fact that nobody told Vince that his score was beaten, because that would have given him a chance to come back down and kind of hang out there. And then he might have found out that he could have played more. And since he had the higher score, theoretically, playing enough times, Vince might have come out on top there. So, you know, that's the real tragedy, is that he somehow managed to never hear that his score was beaten. And when he contacted Best Buy and was told, contacted the person from Best Buy, you were still at the store when you asked, right?
I mean, I checked out. I got the speakers that I bought. So I was maybe there for a half hour after I played. And I asked the guy that was the main Nintendo rep. I think he was wearing like a white shirt. I don't know. But he was the main guy that was obviously in control of what was happening. And I asked if my score was in the lead. He said, he said the score, and it was my score at that time. So I don't know.
There was no display? There was no...
He had like a sheet of paper in his hand.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There was a board that they weren't updating. They were using the paper thing, and I was just going over and asking for the scores. Right. So like I was continuously doing that, trying to see, because like when I saw the first 5 million, I was already defeated, because I'm like, man, I don't even know what I'm doing in this game. 4 million's my high. I'm not even close to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was already defeated then. And then when I saw the second 5 million, I was like, all right, I gotta go. I gotta figure this out. So yeah, so I know
Cal.
Yeah. So in my mind, I would think the chances are there was somebody who had a different piece of paper that was keeping scores, so maybe something like that. But either way, it's a shame that they didn't clarify the rules properly. I do like the fact that they did fix that in 2017 by saying, look, you can just keep playing,
Right.
And they had a scoreboard.
Breaking up over here.
So were you primarily interested in it, Vince? This question's for you. Were you primarily interested in it because it was Dr. Mario, or was it just the fact that it was the NWC? And you didn't go to the 2017, so I'm assuming it's the former.
Yeah, no, definitely because it was Dr. Mario, and I knew I had a chance. I knew how to do the Mario thing, the Super Mario 3 thing. And I knew I actually had a chance. So, I mean, I only had the 3DS for a week, and I was putting up good scores. And it actually was a really good moment for me in my life to put up that 5 million. It was, I think, my highest score of the day, even practicing. So
nice.
I went in there and did what I had to do. I mean, the people around me that I told the tricks in line that I never met before were really excited for me, and so I had like this little, LeBron James moment or something.
That's awesome.
But no, I left. I went home, and I guess I wish that me and Packie got to kind of duel it out like a Texas style thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would have loved
that would have been the ideal situation.
Right.
Yep.
Had I heard about it and gone back, and it was just me playing by myself to like beat the score, I probably would have beaten Packie's score. But I mean, it would have been fun to just throw down back and forth. Yeah.
I would have loved to watch
meet
it.
Packie, because I had never met him. I didn't know who
Right.
he was. All I did was I went home and I saw the guy that won, and I saw a photo in a circle that announced that he was the Torrance guy, and I reached out to the Tetris PR company because I was trying to make sure that I got one of the 8 spots.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pleading my case to the PR company. I forget what the company was, but somehow I got their contact information, and they heard me out, and eventually a Nintendo rep did call me.
Nice.
And they offered me an E3 pass, which I already had gotten. They offered me to go to the championship, which Thor invited me as his +1.
That's awesome.
And she was like, well, I don't know what we can do for you. And I said, well, I don't have a Wii U. So they ended up sending me a Wii U for free.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Which is more than what we got.
Right.
Yeah.
The winner right
Got that $250 Visa card.
That paid for the cab ride to the airport.
Right.
God.
Oh,
That's all right. That's my own
So
little
much
thing to
salt.
poke fun at. A little tiny bit.
Well, I mean, you could sell that T-shirt probably for $1,000. Yeah.
Probably. I got an unopened standee too. When I won
go.
my city, I made sure to see if they had any stuff I could take, and they had a standee they never opened, so I have that in my basement. I should probably, yeah, it's way up high. It's not gonna get wet or anything, but I should put it in plastic or something too.
I would. Yeah, I've got one of each of those two. I've got one of the shirts and I've got one of the standees, so I'm all set. So I got what I wanted out of it. I just wanted to collect stuff.
Yeah. but so, and after all this happens, Vince has the connections with Robin and the PRGE, and they invite me out to help with the Tetris tournament and put me on a panel.
Right.
And then the story comes up with you, because you're on our panel too, Vince.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are still thinking that Packie had multiple chances to get his score, and there's still a little assault about that. That's when Packie discovered this whole thing after he saw my panel, right? Am I getting that correct, Packie?
I was actually aware of it before then. I was aware of it before the finals because I saw a few internet comments floating around, but I was just like, nah.
But
I know the truth. So.
But I was the guy who stood up for your ass and said, "Oh no, Packie's freaking good. He got that score in one try." But I was, it was kind of a panel's not the place to debate the facts like that.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Of course it is.
And I'm like 4th, 5th billing on the damn thing. I mean, Chris Tang's up there, Thor Ackerland's there. Nobody wants to hear about my stupid ass story. So
right. I appreciate that you said what you said though.
But that's the thing. Like once you saw that and you saw the whole Tetris thing, is this the catalyst for picking up the NES Tetris again? Like, is that?
Yeah, in my conversations with you and a little exploring on YouTube and or Twitch, I learned about the Classic Tetris World Championships, and then I heard that Vince ran it, and because after the finals, there were like I added Vince on Facebook, but there was just this long awkward silence. It's like, what do we say? What do I say to this guy? It's because I know how much this meant to him, you know. Yeah. But I decided then that in 2016, the most appropriate way to meet Vince Clemente would be to crash his Tetris tournament. So in 2016, I flew out to Portland and gave it a shot, and top 32 qualified, and I got 34th.
Paul 33rd.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was rough. I got like
we got to play Dr. Mario that weekend.
Yes.
And like settle it for real at Chris Higgins'
at the after party.
Yeah. And I think I think you beat me most of the rounds, but I took a couple rounds from you.
We played 3 series and I won 2 of them.
Right.
You got a sweep in the other one. That's the only time you've beaten me so far.
I'll take it.
Wow. That's impressive. I've beaten him like 2 rounds, not even 2 matches. So
yeah,
that's pretty damn good.
Well, Packie, you've taken your game to a new level now, I feel like.
I'm still trying to figure out the optimal strategy for versus Dr. Mario because I took up speedrunning with it in the thought that, okay, part of this is basically racing to clear all your viruses.
Mm-hmm.
And when I played those 3 guys from Denver last year, and lately I've been following Adam's stream. He's been doing like analyses of each round, and it's pretty interesting because he definitely prioritizes combos more than virus clearing. And it can be tough to top out your opponent, but he's like, oh, I hate this move. It's like I when I get like a color I don't need in like rapid succession, I usually just try to get rid of it. He's the kind of guy who's going to try to make combos with it.
Always. That's interesting.
Because it's kind of a balancing act. Because sure, it's a race to clear your board, but the problem you're ultimately trying to solve is for you to take less time to clear your board than your opponent. Right. And when you make combos, you're adding to your opponent's time.
Interesting.
So
yeah, because at that point, it doesn't matter if you're clearing a virus or not. If you make a combo, they're going to get junk.
Yeah.
Right. And it's slow.
Yeah.
The slow and methodical drop is what kills me.
Yeah, that was one of the things that always killed me about Dr. Mario was like, if you started this pattern of dropping junk on people, they have to sit there and you have the chance to drop more junk on them while they're waiting for the prior junk to fall. That's it's kind of crazy the way that works.
Yeah, if you look at the end of game 3 between me and Adam last year, that's basically what happens at the end of that game is I have 1 virus left and I'm waiting for the right piece, and then he drops 5 doubles on me consecutively. I'm just kind of sitting there reevaluating my board. It's like, okay, how can I make a combo right now because I'm clearly not getting the pieces that I need right now, and this guy's just going to keep dumping and dumping on me.
Well, Packie, you got to keep winning, man. I don't want to see these Denver guys take it.
He's now Adam's moved to Austin, so he's like training like fucking Rocky.
All right.
So he's by himself down in the south in the desert with nothing to do. So he's streaming a lot. He's jumping on other people. He's taking up Tetris too. I think he might be coming out to Portland.
Sweet, let's do it.
So,
awesome.
He's a cool guy. And he also contributed to my to the Dr. Mario tournament. So like financially to help buy trophies and patches and stuff. So
sweet.
Welcome to the community, Adam. We appreciate.
Oh yeah. I want the Dr. Mario community to be just as good as the Tetris community, or better.
Could you imagine if that's like the path that things end up going? You get like a Tetris and a Dr. Mario tournament, kind of like side by side, just running like the true old school, the 2 best puzzle games, I would say. I mean, I'm sure somebody out there would disagree with me and say, "Oh, it's Puzznick," but whatever, you know.
I know there's a Yoshi cookie guy in the room.
Oh, that's a good point. I forgot. I watched your little speed runs on Yoshi's Cookie. And Wario's Woods, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Wario's Woods, baby.
Which one do you like more?
Wario's Woods.
Wario,
Okay.
for sure. I guarantee you he's going to say that after watching all of his games. Those are some interesting like tournament rules that they have with the speed run and everything.
Yeah.
Talk us through that. Like what do you love about Wario's Woods, and what is it that happens in the tournament?
Well, Wario's Woods, it was a game I grew up with. I saw my cousin play it one time, and at the time I was totally into puzzle games. I was mostly Kirby's Avalanche and Tetris Attack back then. I think when I was in like high school.
Ooh, a Puyo player. I didn't know you was a Puyo guy. Interesting.
Yeah. But I saw him play Wario's Woods, and I thought it was really cool, so I gave it a shot and eventually bought the game and thought it was pretty fun. But then I let go of it for a while, and eventually I picked it back up and started speedrunning it.
Mm-hmm.
And the tournament I played in was just a speedrunning tournament, basically versus computer mode, and the modes like varied depending on how deep you got into the tournament. I got all the way to the semifinals, and I lost to Cypher, who's a really, really good speedrunner. He beat Mega Man 2 in under 27 minutes.
Wow. Huh. That's pretty good. Well, yeah. It was fun to watch. Like I honestly, I had never even played Wario's Woods. So for me, it was like totally.
I always thought it was unique because you actually manipulate everything from within the board itself instead of manipulating things as they fall down or slowly rise up. So it's like, okay, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like a clunkier Yoshi's Cookie.
Like I don't know about that.
No, it's just I can't wrap my head around it. There's some puzzle games I can get right away. There's others I'm like, huh. And Wario's Woods is definitely a huh game for me, but you know.
Yeah, speedrunners don't like Wario's Woods in general. I mean, Wario's Woods is a different beast. It takes a little more getting used to.
What about Pipe Dream?
Pipe Dream?
You ever play that one?
Oh
Nope.
yeah.
Is that an Alexi game too? No, that was a that was a Lucas games, right?
I think it was. I think you're right. I'm pretty sure that was Lucas, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that was a strange game.
Yeah.
That means it's been remastered, right?
There you go.
Probably.
I don't know any characters in it, but somebody shoots first, you know.
Yeah, right.
Puzzle game. Where were we about? Going back to NWC and.
Oh yeah, 2017. I did not even go. I bought a Mario Kart 7 or whatever it was, and I saw what was going on the internet and could not even. I mean, I got my time down to I think a minute. I think it was like people were going 49 seconds. I don't know whatever it was. I was like 15 seconds. I was watching Packie, rooting for Packie to make it back in.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I can't even. I don't know. I just quit. Yeah. People were doing like weird jumps over things. I was like, I don't have the time to figure that out.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. It was.
Packie stayed with me for that tournament. Like he stayed here because obviously Torrance was a lot closer to me than it was to him. And yeah, I had not played a Mario Kart since Double Dash, so I was going in like, oh, this is going to be nasty. Luckily, I mean, you know, it really helped to kind of bump into Kyle and Thomas, and he put a ghost on my. Did he put one on yours too, on your DS?
Yes.
Okay, so we both had a ghost from him. So like, if it wasn't for that, there would have been absolutely nowhere near any of the times that we ended up with. But I mean, I couldn't get consistent in time, and and then I was going to continue to practice until I found out that Kyle would be going to the next one as well, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to beat Kyle, so I'm out.
Yeah.
And ended up not flying out of town. I was gonna. There were gonna be two the following weekend. There was gonna be one in Miami, and the other one was gonna be in Texas. Mm-hmm. So Packie and I were even talking about going to those. I don't remember if you were going to go or not, but I know we talked about it a bit. Were you planning on going too, or what was the deal there?
Nah, I wasn't planning on going because at that point it was like there's going to be at least one or two speedrunners at each of these things, and I'm not at that level.
Well, not Miami. I think Miami we could have won if it hadn't gotten canceled. Yeah.
Maybe.
Miami got canceled, and that kind of killed the plans. So once I found out that Kyle was going to end up in Texas, I was like, well, no, nobody's beating Kyle, so we're good. And so I ended up staying. But it was a fun tournament. I dislike the fact that Mario Kart is so exploitable, especially the tracks that they picked and everything. I think that they could have done a better job looking into what was pure race as opposed to like wall riding and shortcuts and all of that. But other than that, I did think that it was fun to, compete again. And I do hope that they bring something back. So the question becomes, what would make Vince go to a Nintendo World Championships? Is there another game that you think that they could do that would interest you?
NBA 2K11.
Interesting. I don't think so. What would that be on Wii? I guess.
I don't know. I don't think do they even have that anymore? I mean, I don't know I would go back. I mean, if it was, I like the old retro stuff. Mm-hmm. If they do another remix thing, that would be cool. I think having a Mario Kart time trial was a little weird. Mm-hmm. Had that been a part of like Mario Kart time trial, then some other game, and then like a Dr. Mario or a Tetris would have been cool. Mm-hmm. Kind of like back to Rad Racer type thing. Mm-hmm. I like that formula for the World Championship.
Got it.
Personally, I mean, I would try. I bought a Mario Kart 7, played it for the week leading up to that one, and just was like, it's not even worth me driving down there. I'm not going to do well unless I wanted to, see Packie, see you guys. That would have been, fun. And root for Packie, because I was rooting online for you. So
Packie, I wanted Packie back in.
Because
I'd love to see, because John Numbers made it back in too, right? I would love to see more people get into a second NWC. I think that's cool. I mean, like I always say, there's only a couple of people who have been in more than one. I believe that there's 4 people who have been in more than one Nintendo World Championships. So that would be Mike Iorosi as finalists. Sorry, Mike Iorosi, Dave Lopez, John Numbers, and one other guy whose name I cannot remember, who was in both 90 and 94.
I gotta figure out who that is too, but I don't have time to control that through my spreadsheets.
I'll find him again. Yeah, I'll find him again. I'll let you know who it was. But yeah, those are the only 4 who have ever been in two of the tournaments. So I would have loved to see that 5th added if Packie could have made it in. So I was even rooting against myself for Packie to get in over me.
Oh, yeah. How close were you, Packie? You weren't too far off, were you? Weren't you leader for a little bit?
I was the early leader because I was one of the first. I was in one of the first groups, and I got a 117 as my first time.
Okay.
And that lasted maybe a couple hours. Like we went to lunch and then came back, and I think Thomas had put up like a 115 or something like that.
Then the speedrunners came.
Yes.
Thomas and Kyle.
There were actually 3 speedrunners there. I don't remember the third one though.
Oh, really?
Los Angeles. Thomas Ida, who won the whole thing. Kyle, who went up to Seattle and won. Joshua had a 114.
Oh, that's right. It was Seattle, not Texas. Yeah.
Vincent M. That's definitely not Vincent C.
That's me.
I had like a 116.1, I think.
I thought you were on the board here, but
I was 5th.
Okay.
Yeah. I was was
it under William? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, you're William. Okay, I was thinking Patrick.
I'm throwing you off with my actual first name.
Oh yes, you're yeah. So you were 10th overall, dude.
Yeah, I was 5th in the LA qualifier, and 116.1 I was pretty happy with. I was pretty sure I was not beating any of the speedrunners that day.
No.
Yeah, you didn't even change up your. You didn't even bother to try the new strat, right? You just stuck with Old Faithful.
By new strat, do you mean launch yourself across the track like you did?
Yes.
It doesn't count your first lap if you do that. So.
No, not that one. I'm talking about once Kyle put the ghost on. Did you actually switch to that?
I tried switching to that because the thing that a lot of people don't understand about speedrunning is yes, there are tricks involved, but the most difficult part of the speedrun is the movement itself. It's extremely precise, and I just had a hard time wrapping my head around that part. That's why I only got a 116.
All right. Well, I was just wondering.
Analog controls too. That's not like a speed run with digital up, down, left, right, A and B. I mean, you're dealing with however many degrees of motion between a far left and a far right, and just a slight turn. And like if you go over, it's impossible to get the same score twice in a speed run in like a modern Mario Kart game. So I applaud those guys for being able to do as well as they do, but it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, after I saw the way that Kyle was doing it, after he put that ghost on, that's all that I practiced. I never tried to finish the track the normal way. I couldn't get consistent in the short time that we had. You know, I only finished first lap. I never even finished a second lap or anything using the strat. But I don't remember if you actually tried to switch over to that at all.
I really didn't, because I couldn't figure out what exactly it was.
Got it.
To be honest with you.
Got it. Fair. Okay.
So what did you guys think of the 15 show from the audience?
I mean, I loved your moment.
Well, okay. Well, thank you. You're so nice, and I'm
You're
such
a hero of mine.
I was excited for you too, man.
That was you knew what to do. I think 2 or 3 people died.
Everybody died.
And you were like right there, slow and steady, and took it, got it. Yeah.
I choked a bit because I had my strat and I got thrown off on it, but I didn't die, and that's why I survived. And also, if you look there's a picture, everybody's looking at their monitor, and I was holding the gamepad and looking at the gamepad because the emulation used on the Wii U is laggy as shit, especially on using the monitor. If you're using the gamepad, it's not nearly as bad. And Zelda's not a precise game to begin with. Even on an NES, it's you push the sword button and there's a good amount of delay there that was deliberately designed because swinging a sword is not a precise action like shooting a gun.
Right.
But playing on a gamepad was probably the difference for me getting through that. But
I mean, that's my favorite part of the opening sequence you have for this show.
Oh,
the moment that you have of yourself in there, I love it.
Yeah,
I gotta pet myself every once in a while. And I was acting like a 13-year-old that whole day.
Yeah.
I was excited and jumping around and I wasn't just like fuck you, you lose. I was super supportive of everybody else. I don't know if you know the story about Sinister. He was having the lag issues too because he's a Super Metroid speedrunner. So the second underground was Super Metroid. It's kill the mother brain, escape the thing, the save the animals, all that kind of crap they do at the GDQ events.
Yeah.
But with the lag, the things like your shine spark and your tools just aren't there. You're not used to that. And he didn't like panic, but he was like uncomfortable, I think was the term. And I could tell he was slightly ahead. So I just said, hey, man, you've got this. You're ahead. Just keep jumping because you're in the tunnel going up, jumping on the platforms. And he's normally used to shine sparking all the way up to the top and getting out instantly because that's the quickest way out if you're speedrunning it. But, he said that he went through the regular sequence of jump, doing the space jumps and not overlying up because space jumps and wall jumps do require that precision. And he ended up winning. And even on a stream later on, he called me the voice of God for telling him to calm down on his moment when he could have blown it had he been too overzealous at that last sequence. So I liked helping other people too, and I was glad for everybody pretty much at that whole thing. But this isn't about me. What about Packie? What about because you survived all the way to you survived a balloon fight, right?
Balloon fight.
I was actually bummed out that I didn't get to play Zelda or Super Metroid because I know I would have done well in those. But
Zelda, the one game that they told us we were going to play, so that was what I got my practice on, and I guess it paid off.
Did you know it was going to be like the level 1 speedrun? Or
yes, they told us
they told us ahead of time that it was going to be level 1 speedrun.
Level 1 speedrun, but they didn't say in what context. Like, not everybody played the level 1 speedrun. It was an underground thing, but that's what it's beforehand, and everything else was completely let out of thin air.
Yeah, because I know if I just was like all of a sudden someone threw that at me, I'd be like, I don't even remember where the dungeon is.
Right.
Like, everyone knew where to go. I was like, well, how do they all know? So you practiced. So
yeah, and we were all practicing beforehand underneath, and not everybody knew the key trick where if you go into level 1, there's a locked door at the top. If you exit, go right back in, it automatically unlocks that door and saves you from having to get one extra key. So we were sharing that backstage before the thing started so that everybody, kind of had a chance. And then poor Jovenshire. I see Dorion's eyes, I could tell. But
yeah. He's a good guy.
But Mexican runner should have beaten me on any given day because he's amazing. The dude can beat Contra with one hand and Battletoads or whatever else. So that was just a lucky moment for me. And he was supportive of me. He could have been a dick about it, and he totally wasn't. So the fact that we didn't have prizes probably made that situation backstage like a camaraderie sort of deal. I think if there had been actual stakes involved, there could have been a lot more salt back there. But I guess it all worked out.
So Packie, Balloon Fight, had you ever played it before?
Yes, my entire experience of Balloon Fight at that point had come from NES Remix.
Okay, so you had at least had an idea of how to play it if you were playing it in NES Remix. Then they did do the star challenge in there. If I'm not, well, I guess it was called Type B, right?
Balloon Trip.
Balloon Trip. That it's technically Type C, but yeah.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
It was also the game on NES Remix that I was probably the worst at, aside from Clue Clue Land.
Ooh.
Clue Clue Land. Oh.
I love that Balloon Fight was a part of it. I don't know.
Me too. I did too.
What a deep cut,
Yeah.
That was a tribute to Mystery Iwata.
It really has.
Iwata, yeah.
I just had to get over that whole "this is the reason why I'm not a champion" thing. Is
that the one you lost? You lost it?
Yeah, I got eliminated on that one. It was the top score moves on, and I believe it was
Cosmo at the time. Yep, Marcesa now.
As an audience member, I had no idea what was happening. Like, what was the score? What was like? How was this being calculated? Like, people just kept dying and retrying. Is it a total score or what? I don't know.
It was a 1-run score.
Your best run.
You had 5 minutes, and whatever your best score was.
Okay.
They counted that one, but there was no indication of who was winning or who. It was really kind of not presented too well, and they didn't even fix that in 17. They had that same issue where they wouldn't even show all the screens at one time in 17 because they did that with multiple games like the Tetris and the Birds and Beans and all that stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people
might not realize, but Aaron almost won Balloon Fight. I mean, Cosmo barely beat him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mr. Game Grumps almost took it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Balloon Fight is it's same with Zelda. It's already a laggy game. I imagine on a Wii U.
Oh man, can't imagine. Yeah.
Rough.
Like, I mean, the trick really is to play on that gamepad. There's not that much lag on the gamepad. I mean, it's less. It's just about a frame on the gamepad itself. But if you're playing on the screen, it's absolutely garbage. They did a tournament at E3 that weekend at the Nintendo booth. Where you had to go through the same stages, and the I guess the prize, I think the prize is really cool. It's the gold 20th anniversary Mario coin,
right?
And nobody could do it because of course they're playing on the big screen. I got up there and I'm playing on the pad and wrecked right through it. And it is the difference of knowing to play on that pad versus on the screen. It was just an absolute nightmare because like at the end of the day, Nintendo doesn't do a lot of competitive gaming, so they don't understand input lag and latency and game mode and all of these different things that some of these TVs need.
Well, I think it's also emulation because Mario Maker was not emulation. That's why it played a lot better.
Right.
But NES Remix was straight up emulator. As was the Zelda and the Balloon Fight and the Super Metroid and stuff. So that emulation, the particular flavor that they use, I don't know if they bought a free version or I don't know which one they stole or borrowed or made themselves, but
yeah,
even on the Switch, it's there. It's not as bad on the Switch, but there's still some lag. You're not going to beat Mike Tyson's Punch Out on even a Switch, let alone a Wii U. So it really.
I mean, you can adjust, but I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what, if you're doing software emulation as opposed to like FPGA or anything like that, you're going to add a frame of lag, no matter what. But that's not that bad. Like that is, you can overcome that. But when you mix that with then another you know, a screen that chances are is probably going to add another 0.30 of input delay.
Mhm.
Now you're talking like 2.5 frames to 3 frames of lag. It's just there's too much tolerance there. Like you're
Well, playing Tetris on 19 like that, come on.
yeah, it's impossible. Absolutely impossible. By the time you see the piece, it's already 3 levels down.
Right.
You know, so like it's completely impossible to emulate Tetris that way. So yeah, I mean it all depends on what you play on and everything else. So interesting.
So, how did you do in I know we're all going all over the place. So, how'd you do Packie in Mario Kart? What was your? It was they took like what, the top 4 people or 3 people? I forget the number.
The top 8 were in Mario Kart, I believe.
Top 8. So they took the top 3. The bottom 5 went
okay.
south.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they
And
took the top 3 out of Mario Kart, and then the rest went to balloon fight.
And where did you finish in that group of 8?
Not well. That was the first time. That was the first time I ever played 200cc.
Oh, brutal.
I got thrown straight into the fire.
Surprise.
And DLC tracks. I recognized Baby Park, but I didn't recognize the other tracks.
Oh, I actually got my thing up here. Patrick
was
Haendle
historical
finished
context.
6th.
I was pretty bad on Big Blue. I finished like 11th on Big Blue. It's like,
You
So
got
was it
10 points on Animal Crossing. So yeah, you were.
Yeah, I was like
Terrible
3rd on
Baby
Animal
Park.
Crossing. I actually did good on that one.
So you were 6th out of how many did they take?
There's out of 8.
But I'm saying how many did they take? Like in other words, did they take the top 5 or the top 3?
Top 3.
Okay, so you're still pretty far out. Okay.
And it was weird though, because they put you into 2 groups of 4 rather than everybody facing each other in 8. It was that weird. Well, this group of 4 is going to play, and this group of 4 is going to play, but the points are all the same. So it's another apples to oranges sort of deal. But
yeah, that's odd.
Eastern and Western Conference sort of deal,
yeah,
if you want to use a sports ball analogy.
You guys and your sports ball, I swear. Yeah, I mean, you know, like I always like to say, I feel like Nintendo did seek out some feedback after that tournament, and I mean, you remember, Vince, we were outside and talking to the guy from the treehouse, and he was kind of asking us for feedback and everything, and I think a lot of that was implemented with 17. So, you know, hopefully they're going to do another one, and we'll see more further improvements. And I love the Nintendo tournaments. They're always the most fun to me. So I'd love to see another one at some point.
So, you know, we got the Vince and Patrick rivalry going down, like, you know, one screwed over another at NWC 15, but not really. And then they kind of sort of bump into each other in the back in a cloudy room, in a smoky filled room, and then they think, oh look, we're actually rivals here. And Vince shows up, or Packie shows up in 15 and barely misses the cut. You went in 6. I wasn't there in 16. How'd you do in 16 in CTWC?
No, that was 16.
Okay.
When I just missed it.
Okay, that's right. So I was there in 15 as an announcer. I missed 16 because of my job.
Yeah.
We're both there in 17, and you made the 17. You didn't make the bubble that year either. That was the first year we were both there, and you were struggling to get there. I remember when time was running out, you started another game and said, they cut that crap off. And
yeah, I was like, I think 36th or 38th in 2017. I was not doing too hot. I was basically a 500 player then.
Wow.
And the scores are getting higher, because back in 14, the year I went, I made the top 32, no problem, with my lousy 300 something thousand score. It was pretty atrocious, but it
was a hot score back then.
It was a hot score back then, and I haven't gotten any better than everybody else has. So
I could have qualified. What do you know?
Exactly.
Inflation, man.
The inflation. That's the Federal Reserve of Tetris. but when did the Dr. Mario thing kind of settle up? Because I go ahead. You guys tell the story, and then I'll put in my part of it. Right? Like where does Dr. Mario come into all this? Like who's better? Because you said you played Vince a few times. When was this? At the 17 or the?
That was
it was at the 2016 after party.
Yeah.
At the after party, okay.
Yeah.
And
Patrick came, yeah. Or well, you go ahead, Patrick.
Well, I remember when we went to some guy's house, and my friends were actually kind of ticked off about it because I called them to pick me up at like 2 in the morning. But we played a few series of Dr. Mario, and I took the first one, then he swept me the second one, and then I took the third one from him. And so this was kind of like my prove it moment. It's like, okay, I feel like I have to prove it to him now how good I really am, because I don't want him to think that he lost by some total fluke, you know. So I had my game face on. I went as quick as I could, and we both knew we were good, and that there was just kind of a mutual respect from that point, because like after that long awkward silence on Facebook, you know, it was like, okay, everything's cool now. This guy's awesome. Because I had a feeling you were awesome. We just needed to let that blow over, you know?
Yeah. No, thanks, man. No, it was I personally was touched that you trained to play Tetris to come meet me and suck me out that way to come play me and Dr. Mario to show. I mean, I had no idea what happened with the score that day, or if you played a million times that day. People had told me that. I mean, I wasn't there, so I have no idea what to believe. But I've always just trusted. You told me that you did that on your first try, and I think you're an honest guy. So I have no bad blood.
No bad blood at all.
I'm glad you're in the Tetris community now. So
yeah, I was playing Tetris like the entire time, and I just couldn't crack the top 32. My last game I started on 15, and I was getting a lot of Tetrises, but I got like a 450 on my final game, and I was like, oh, man, I felt so deflated, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
And, I mean, go ahead.
I was going to go over to Vince, but you finish up what you were saying.
Sure.
I mean, that's just what made my 2018 so much sweeter, is that I finally cracked that bracket.
Yeah.
God damn, you did, dude. You almost took out Tolls. That was amazing.
Man.
Well, you won your first round, right? Round 0. You passed. You beat Kristen Stein, I think.
Beat Robin.
I beat Robin.
Yeah, Robin.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Take that, Robin.
It was funny because when I think about my my matches in the Tetris tournament, I come to a realization that the CTWC is not just a mind battle with Tetris itself, but also the player next to you. Because when it gets in your head that the guy next to you is the better player than you are, you're going to be inclined to take more risks, and that's when Tetris is going to get you. That RNG is not going to be friendly with you. So that's a dimension of the tournament that I need to master.
I always find that I play a very weird game of Tetris in competition. It's like I'm doing things that I've never done at home, like trying new cool tucks or something. Like, who is this guy playing?
I was so excited when I did my first ice spin.
Oh, that's fun. I've done a couple.
It's the only one I've ever done too. So.
Had you seen the film, Packie? Did you see Ecstasy of Order? At what point did you ever get to see it?
Yeah, I bought a copy in 2016 while I was there. I bought a copy of that and the Tricks of the Tetris Masters book. And I bought a T-shirt.
Nice.
I went a little ham on the spin.
How much did the T-shirt help you out with your game?
The T-shirt?
Yeah.
Definitely helps with the game.
Yeah.
20,000 points.
Actually,
go ahead.
I think I first heard about the CTWC before. I want to say before the fall of 2016. It was definitely before the fall of 2016. Because at Retropalooza that year in Dallas, I met Joey Parker. Because there was a Tetris tournament going on there. Not like a CTWC style Tetris. It's just whoever has the highest score for the day. And I saw him rolling with his CTWC shirt on. I'm like, oh, this is going to be trouble. And then he dropped like an 800K, and I'm like, nah, I'm not winning this.
Wow. Nice. Huh.
Super cool guy, though.
Rolling back to Dr. Mario for Vince. So how much was Dr. Mario played amongst the CTWC? Because the first time I met Ben Mullen, I kind of jokingly asked him in a Q&A, like, so when's the Dr. Mario Championship coming out? He's like, oh, some of my friends are really good Dr. Mario players. And I presume he was probably talking about you. So, like, was there like that also on the side?
I had talked to Ben about it. Ben has a friend that I've never met that lives near him, I guess, in Minnesota, that is apparently really good at Dr. Mario, and he's never come out to your tournament or to a CTWC. So I've played Ben in Dr. Mario, and then I would play some of that NES Super Nintendo mix and match with some of the Tetris players because I don't know. I think you heard me one time when I said people will always ask, what can I do for you? Because I run the Tetris thing. And I've always said, well, make a Dr. Mario tournament that's just as good as the Tetris tournament that I can go to and have fun. And I think you heard me and now you're doing it, or maybe you didn't. I don't know.
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah. So
I knew a guy who knew a guy and got the space and I had the equipment and
yeah.
Like I even in your early days when you were just had like one of those security camera quad things for your projector, now you got the whole awesome tray system. But back in the old days, you just had whatever piece of crap equipment you guys use. It's like, oh, I can buy one of those off eBay for $10 because everybody's getting rid of their standard definition security equipment, and I've bought one and used it for my other things because I've been running tournaments since I moved in this house back in 2010. I was like, okay, I'm going to take this national. Let's do this. And
do it.
And both you and Packie flew out that first year and made it an awesome thing. And I got the Denver guys coming out, and now this year Heather and Jonas are coming out. So holy hell, I got a scene going. So let's keep the fire burning and throwing the fuel on the fire and see where it goes until Nintendo takes us out or something. But,
maybe I'll practice this year.
Heather's freaking good. It's good.
It's
and Adam's, with the dedication he's really throwing toward this. I don't want to call him the favorite, but that's
wow.
Yeah,
strong words.
Packie's right there. He's
he's right below me on my screen. I don't know where
he is.
You
want to be the champ, you got to beat the champ.
You got to
woo.
That's right. I mean, I can't freaking wait to have both of you kick the crap out of me if I play.
And when is that happening?
It's August 2nd in Pittsburgh at the Replay Effects Festival. It's the world's largest arcade. So if you think of Portland Retro Gaming Expo, you got the gigantic hall and about 2/3 of it's vendors and 1/3 of it's an arcade. Flip that around for Pittsburgh. You got 2/3 of this gigantic football. I think it's even bigger than a football field. It's probably two football fields.
Yeah.
It's huge. Giant. And it's one big rectangular space. It's not like an L shape or weird zigzag, whatever. It's full of arcade machines and consoles and stuff. And then they got a smaller vendor area and whatever else. But, they hold the Pinburg Pinball Championship there. And that's like big time money because people pay a lot of money to enter for huge payouts. So, it's like World Series of Poker style of payouts rather than stuff that we run where you pay your $10 and get a couple $100 if you win. People are playing pinball for thousands of dollars. And
is that the PAPA, like Professional Amateur
Pinball
PAPA, Association?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
yeah,
I used to be in there.
Yeah, they used to run the event out of their warehouse in Carnegie, and that ran out of space, so they closed that down and now focus on Replay Effects. But I don't know where they moved the Pinball World Championships to. They just do the Pinburg event because that's the bigger money, and for a venue like that where they have to pay for the venue, they have to, have bigger money. But it's an amazing building and arcade.
Wonderful, yeah.
Like if you just want to see arcades all over the place from every era, and it's go to it just for the spectacle of it. But then come play some Dr. Mario with us. I think this year with the money I raised, we're gonna have a free entry this year.
All right.
Oh,
Nice.
That'll get some more people in. We've had about 30-40 people in both years, so I hope to increase that a bit. And some of the pinball people have come over and have done really well, and I think now they know it's a thing. Some of them might be practicing too. I don't know. I haven't kept up with them, but it'll Dr. Mario's a good game. It's one of those games like that. Mom came off the street last year and got into the top 8. That was crazy.
Oh, wow.
That was awesome.
She was there with her kids. It's like, oh, I saw Dr. Mario and I played this with my husband, and she obliterated pretty much everybody except for
she was
the
the
top
number
player.
2 seed, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was great. She played a bunch of.
Cow.
Yes, it's great. I mean, the way we do seating is weird, and I know you
Rosemary.
guys aren't a fan of it. You're married, Rosemary. Yes.
I have no idea how you would do it better. So.
It really I get emotional thinking about you guys coming out just to support me doing this thing because
hell yeah,
I'm not making any money off of it, that's for damn sure, and I'm taking week of my PTO to go out there and do it. So
Right.
That's awesome.
if you guys didn't do it, didn't go out there, I wouldn't have kept going. And so it's a mutually beneficial relationship.
We get to hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that's the best part.
And got the Tetris qualifier out there now, so it's we're building we're growing that forest. It's no longer a tree now.
So Packie, you get to try twice in a row, huh? Because you got 2 weekends in a row of cons that have Classic Tetris World Championship qualifiers, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be going to Phoenix the very next weekend with you.
That's really cool. So you have 2 chances to qualify. That's great.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think D'Lo's gonna be coming out to Pittsburgh. He came last year. That's how
Right.
that's how he got introduced to this group, was coming out for the Tetris that weekend.
I had been trying to get him to go to that for so long. I was trying to get him to come to either Game On or to Portland, and I was like, look, I get it. You don't want to travel, dude. Just go to Pittsburgh. It's right there. And he finally went. So I was happy to see him actually get into it. Now he's like all gung ho about it.
I love he's one of my favorites. You know,
Yeah.
he's so pumped. When I met him in Pittsburgh, he was so excited to just finally come out. You know, and I gave him shit. I gave him some shit because I always would see he'd be the one guy complaining that it wasn't not on the East Coast.
Yeah. That's Dave.
I was like, now we have one on the East Coast. You better come.
Right.
Dave Lopez, who I've never met. You know.
I've known Dave since we were 10 years old. So like he's always been a complainer. God, that's 30 something years now. That's crazy.
So if we can,
Sure.
I'm sure you've probably done this story before, but I like to use this chance to talk about the history of CTWC. Okay. So Robin went into his part of it. So what's your side of the story on what your contribution was to this whole phenomenon that gets tens of millions of views on these videos now, and earns you enough money to maybe do a little bit more than
retire?
Yeah, not to.
Oh yeah. That's it. I'm retired.
To pay rent in California.
Well, back in 2010, I think. Well, I told you earlier that I met Robin on Nintendo Age, maybe 2008 or 9. I think was the time I met him, and taught him how to use eBay. And we were talking about, me and him. I was a filmmaker at the time, and we were talking about maybe doing a Nintendo World Championships documentary about doing a reunion, a 25th anniversary reunion type spectacle. We never really pushed hard on that. I had never met Robin, and then Robin had run into Adam, or Adam had run into Robin at Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and Adam was made a short documentary on Harry Hong, the best Tetris player at that time, and he raised some money to make a full feature-length movie on Tetris. And Robin then introduced Adam to me, who I lived in LA. They both live in Portland, and they were making the Tetris documentary together, and they needed somebody on the ground here to run the first tournament. So my main job was, as a producer of the film, was to make sure that tournament was incredible. So I, just talked to the Tetris company, got, sponsorship from them, and then, started collecting CRTs. I had a pyramid of CRTs in my garage, and just gathering, how do I make this event happen? I had some event experience. I've worked with some nonprofits before then, so I knew how events would work, mainly as like a graphic designer on the end, but I would work closely with the event planner. So I kind of knew what you needed to do to run an event at that point. So there was some other guys that came around, like there was this guy, Sergio, that hit me up, and he helped me get some vendors for the event. I think people had a really good time. After the first event happened, we did, it was the climax of the movie. I had never imagined that I would do it the second time. So
how many people showed up at that auditorium? Like, what was the turnout for that?
The auditorium was full by the end of it. I think it seats like 230 maybe. Like it's like a movie theater.
Right.
There was maybe 50 to 100 people that tried to play. There was,
that's a lot.
Yeah. But it was just, we did it differently then. We sold tickets per try, so it was $2 $2 an attempt or something like that, or you could buy 5 for $10, or I forget what the math was, but there was some kind of like, that's what I guess happened in the NWC days, where you would buy tickets. So we just took that method and ran with it, we did that the second year as well, and then the third year we just got rid of that whole thing. So the second year, I didn't know I was even gonna do it again. All the players were, hitting me up, and the Tetris company was hitting me up, like saying, "Are we gonna do this again or what?" And I was like, "All right, let's do it." Yeah. And then they everyone wanted the Tetris company wanted it to be bigger. The sponsorships were higher that year, so we, we made a bigger event. It was at USC, which it was probably the prettiest of all the events. It was like in like a world-class auditorium, the Bovard Auditorium at USC, which is, there's like 3 levels. It could seat, I think, 1,500 people.
Wow.
And then it was a one-day thing. It was on a Sunday, and there was like no one walking around the campus. So kind of was a dud, you would say. So I was like, all right, that's it. I lost money that year. And I was like, all right, I can't be doing this if I'm losing money.
Right.
So, the next year, I think Adam had talked to Chuck Van Pelt, who runs the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and he's like, oh, let's just do it here. So then we moved it to Portland, and I was like, all right, let's do it. As long as I know that I'm not going to lose money this year, I'm glad to be a part of it still and continue to do it. And since then, it's been this is the 10th year now.
That's
so
crazy.
amazing.
That's
crazy.
That's longer than the span of the NES.
Right.
Think about that.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Well, my
That's
favorite.
kind of heavy.
Yeah, back in 2010 when we made the film, I guess only 3 people had maxed the game out that were known. Thor, Jonas, and Harry. And now, that's 35 people have done it. Last year at the tournament, there was 12 or some max outs live on one day. In
Could you imagine?
Yeah. Just.
What do you think of the state of the tournament? I mean, are you thinking you're outgrowing Portland? Are you going to make it a standalone event again, or what do you think about that?
I don't think it'll ever be a standalone event again. As part of a bigger expo, there's a lot more foot traffic and retro fans. I don't know if people would go out of their way on a weekend to go watch a Tetris championship. Maybe now they would. I mean, now that the YouTube channel is going crazy and people love it, but the first 2 years, the first year was great, and the second year, it was just too big of a time. Maybe nowadays that would work. We maybe would fill that auditorium
right
now, but it was too soon for that. But I think we'll always be part of like the Portland Retro Gaming Expo or something similar where there's a big crowd of other things going on.
Right.
I think you need your own space, though. I think you've outgrown that corner of the convention floor. Like you either need an auditorium or you need to be able to use that space or have more chairs because, you set up maybe 100 chairs and then by the end of the thing, the crowd is taking up the entire portion of the convention floor space, and it's kind of But I just wondering like if you guys have talked about it. I maybe get a little too inside baseball, but to me, I just want to see you guys getting bigger. And
well, good news, Chris. We have we're at Portland Retro Gaming Expo this year again, and we have our own room. It's actually
nice.
It's actually 4 of the meeting rooms combined into one giant room that's like 30 or 40 feet wide by 100 feet deep. So double the space that we've had before,
awesome.
And our own kind of controlled room this year.
So you can.
That's news. No one knows. So.
Oh, sweet! Hey, exclusive.
News breaking here.
I mean, Trey and Adam know, and the Portland Retro guys know.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, I know that there are some other shows that would love to kind of scoop you away. So it's good to hear that Portland's actually, working to keep you and giving you better space and everything else. Because I will say, last year was rough. I mean, I couldn't even get into the area to watch the games.
Right.
It was overflowing with people. So
yeah, we have more space this year and should be, more accommodating, more chairs.
Yeah. Yeah. How do the qualifiers do? Like, you do how many of them?
This year we have 5 or 6, and there's possibly a 7th one coming within the United States. Then we have I think 6 or 7 around the world right now. There's Norway is next weekend, I believe, and that the winner from that is being sent over. There's one in Germany coming up. There's one in Taiwan coming up, and all those 2 are sending the winner over. And then there's the Classic Tetris European Championship still, and there's Finland, and we have 1 in Australia now.
Any talk of Japan? Because
Japan would be awesome. It hasn't come around yet. I mean, there's talk of Poland and Italy, and there was talk of Chile, Brazil.
Holy shit!
Yeah. So
when you said world at first,
yeah,
wasn't it kind of like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge joke? Like the NBC wasn't really a world title, but that's one of those. If you build it, it will come. And when I named the Dr. Mario tournament, I just explicitly called it the national championship because I didn't want to be that D-bag. I didn't want to be D-bag. I wanted to like be humble about it. It's like, oh, we're just having people flying from the country, so let's just call it a national championship, because as soon as the Koreans figure out that we're doing this, they're gonna funny thing about that, in Tetris, the 2015 semifinal has now surpassed the Jeff Jonas video in terms of views, and I think Korea's discovered CTWC because there's a lot of Korean smack talk.
Is there going in that video?
In the 2015 semifinal, it's like, in you use Google Translate, so I'm sure it's butchered up, but it's Korean we need to get on this and that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting if they discover this and
I was talking
send
to
somebody over.
Korea. There was a guy that I was chatting with from Korea a couple of years ago. It never happened, but there was going to be one in Korea.
Well, if they get their hands on it, you're going to see a lot of new entries, right?
That's fine.
Yeah, I love it.
All. I just feel like, as an American, you have to call it the World Championship. It's like the joke, like you have to.
Baseball, football, all the sports that we all play.
World.
World Series, etc.
The World Series.
Yeah. More sports ball for you, Dorian.
Yeah. So World Series that's like football, right? What?
Baseball,
Packie said.
Yeah.
And I will come around to just with Packie for a moment, because one of the stories that you learn from Ecstasy of Order and Robbins and Chris Tang's story, how all those guys in 1990 kind of lost touch with one another and didn't really start to reunite until the past 10 to 15 years or so. And even now it's a mishmash. We're getting pockets of players coming back, and we want to try to interview as many as we can. But when I went into 15, I knew that was going to be a thing, that somebody's got to take the lead and keeping the group of players together. And I think, like, between Packie there and Timsy, like, I've become really good friends with those guys. They've come out to my house for my hexadecathlon tournament several years in a row, and Tim won the previous 2 years, and Packie came out this year and finally won a title. And it's probably amazing watching him hold up that belt where we're playing these stupid freaking games all day. I don't know how familiar you are with like Turtles on the Odyssey 2, and oh no, we lost Dorian.
What? He's still there.
He's there.
Okay. Well, whatever. It's still there recording. Okay. Thank you. I mean, we had that moment when we were in Pomona back in January where we're hanging out at Jonas's house, and it's like 3 a.m. and Dorian was asleep and we couldn't get in his house. We didn't know what the hell to do, and we're at a Denny's. Like, okay, let's calm down and figure out what we're gonna do here. And like it's one of those like cool stories of dude. It's I can't imagine meeting cool people like this in video games. I always thought it was going to be full of D-bags. That's kind of what I've been afraid of with CTWC, is that like as it gets bigger and bigger, like when's that influence gonna, when the jerks are going to start coming out of the woodwork,
but you just don't want to hang with,
Right. And I have not had that happen yet. Like all the people I've kept in touch with at the NWC, like all the qualifiers have been amazing. Some of the invitees have been amazing. They don't have to be. I mean, they were stars and had their followings and had they could have, thumbed their noses at us, and they didn't. So,
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for that, and so I'm getting a little emotional. So go. I don't know where you go from here. That's how I am. But
let's have a team cry.
I appreciate what you've done, Chris, to be the glue guy for the 2015 group. I really do, because
absolutely.
I've been notoriously bad about keeping communications like my whole life. So
we got this internet, might as well use it.
Yeah.
And by the way, I never really I try not to bring it up. Other people bring it up, but the one thing I'm good at, I do have the NWC 15 high score at 17 million still.
Oh, okay.
I just got to bring that up because Packie's in the room. And
I just picked that game back up recently, right?
Yeah, I saw that.
What is this?
Chris has the world record score for Ultimate NES Remix Championship mode. He's got like a 17.3, I want to say.
Yeah,
that's great.
Huh.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
That's the one we played in 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jordan has actually surpassed me as well. He's got a 15.7.
Yeah, you were at over 15. I think numbers got to 14. I wish all of us would be on the scoreboard at one time because it pulls your score up after a month. Yeah. But it's cool.
I got a 10. I got my 10 and then I
got
quit.
to 10, dude. That's and I verified that's a world record because I bought a Japanese and a European 3DS.
Okay.
Just to check.
Just to check
the leaderboard.
That's actually really funny.
And I've got 12 millions on both of those, and those are by far. Europe is really sad. There's like nobody beating 2 at this point other than me. There's a guy in Japan who's getting up to 9, so that there maybe somebody's finally discovered that game in Japan.
So after 15,
you have the world record for that month.
Right. Yeah. Right.
For this very moment when I logged on, I still had it, but I don't think I got 17 because when you get too many in a chain on NES Dr. Mario, the score mechanic glitches out and you get way more than what you're supposed to. So if you can get 15 or 16 out of 16 on level 3, then some interesting things happen with your score. And that's the only way you can really beat that is if getting 16 out of 16 is just stupid. Like you have to have the Rube Goldberg of Rube Goldberg machines. It's ridiculous.
Is it just random when it glitches? Sorry, Dorian.
No, go ahead.
I
want to know the answer to that.
No, Patrick and I have played some regular games on like level 5 or level 10 where we try to figure out how it works. And when you get to like 12, the score gets low. Like you'll get it's 6,400 points per virus when you have 6 or more for all those viruses. But when you get to 12, the counter resets or something and it goes to like 200. But then if you get to like 15 or 16, then the weird stuff happens. If you don't freeze the game out completely, I don't have the problem is with the 3DS I don't have video of it, so I couldn't figure out how I got it. But if I did the math conventionally, I should have only had like 15 million, but I ended up with 17. And so something weird just happens with the score. And I've seen those videos like with tool assisted runs on level 20 where they'll get some ridiculous combo and just the screen explodes and the game crashes and
it just like 3 million points.
Yeah, it's a broken mechanic at that point. So
yeah.
The thing is, and I showed this to Packie a while back. I originally wanted to practice this. Like I thought it was an awesome tournament cartridge, and I was gonna like actually get good at it. And then I realized that it is exploitable, and that there is a way to cheat. And I was like, eventually somebody's gonna figure this out and start cheating it. I am amazed that we are now 4 years later. No one has ever figured out how to cheat it. I showed it to Packie, and as far as I know, everybody. Do you remember that, Packie?
I do remember this.
Yeah. So that was the specific reason I decided to never play it, because I was like, somebody's going to figure this out and destroy the scoreboards, and then it's not going to be worth all of the time invested. We're here 4 years later, and no one has ever figured this out yet. And I actually think that's really exciting.
I saw one in Europe that was 99999, but it was only the 9,900,999, and that's impossible because it's a 10 multiplier in all the games. So. I don't know if they knew
somebody might have figured it out then.
Somebody might have figured it out, and I wonder if it's interesting. If they know how to do that, then why not 99 million? But maybe that just seemed implausible. So they tried to make something that was plausible. But
well, you can't get to 99 million because the way that you can cheat it is not a glitch. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want people to figure it out. But the point is, you still would have realistic scores. So.
But
yeah.
I found it interesting that it was all 9s. Like you don't max, because the Wii U version you max out. The 3DS version they removed the cap.
Yeah.
So I wonder what they did to get all 9s. I thought that was they were just setting it themselves. So that I found that interesting.
Maybe they found a different way to cheat. Could be. Interesting. Well, either way, I'm glad that the scoring is still going. I always thought that 11 million was an amazing score, and now to hear that that's blown through the roof, you guys are nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, after the NWC finals, I decided to make it my mission to beat John Numbers' score.
Me too. Yep.
And then I beat it 3 months later in the break room at work.
Took you 3 months. It took me a year. But
what was its score? Was it 12 million?
It was 12.9 at the time.
Oh, was it really? Holy
well, he was at 11 at NWC, and then he upped it to 12.9 by the time Packie passed it. So 12s are rare for me. I break 10 if I'm playing like a night. I'll break 10 once or twice maybe, but it's anything beyond 12, you just have to have the best RNG and the best concentration and not screwing up. And it's such a weird game. It's not. I don't know it's not a video game skill. I don't think it goes beyond that. So it's that's why I qualified, because I'm definitely not your guy.
Skill and luck. It's a combination thereof. Because combo building is a real science in Dr. Mario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure is. Yeah, and I guess it was probably Irosi that told me that it was coming back around, that there was going to be another NWC, and I went out and bought and it's funny, I have 1,000 DSs, but they're all sealed, so I had to actually buy a DS that I could open, and so I bought a DS and I bought NES Remix, and then had to figure out how to unlock it and everything else. And when I saw the scores that were on there, I was like, 11 million. What in the world are they doing to get there? It's insane to me. Yeah. I definitely thought it was fake.
The name Numbers sounded like a hacker name, That just And I mean, we bring this story up because we talked to him, but when Packie and I met him at the dinner the night before, it's like, how did you get that? And his response was, I see things.
That's a very Numbers response.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a very Numbers response. That's awesome. So.
That's hilarious.
So back in 15, it was when you were in the audience with Thor, I've heard stories like what because there was something like he went outside and was talking like a homeless guy or something, like didn't want to be there, or do you know anything about, like, you guys were in the audience with them, so maybe you.
No, Thor had his own private seat that was next to Tim Hansen, I think.
Yeah.
They were like up front, and Thor had to be there for one camera shot or something. They said, we have our champions from 1990 here, and panned over to him in the crowd. And then me and Trey and I think Chris Brady were there. And Dorian, were you sitting by us, or were you by yourself?
I was, yeah. No, I was sitting in between you and what are they? Warp Zone. So I was sitting right next to you guys. So
okay. Yeah, so yeah, we were up back. I think Thor went outside. I don't know what he did.
Yeah, that's not like a, what do they call that? Like a folk legend or whatever those things are called. He went outside just to, hang out for a few minutes, and ended up having a conversation with somebody, like a real deep conversation. And I believe the guy was homeless, but it doesn't really matter. With Thor, all that you have to do is have something to say that's interesting, and he's going to pay his full attention to you.
Oh, so, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, absolutely. So that did happen, but it wasn't like he was trying to avoid people. It was actually the opposite. He found somebody to talk to that was interesting to him. So
I just would have loved to have had have him up on stage with us after the fact, and I'm a little. Like Jeff too, we none of us have a contact with Jeff Hansen, and I don't know if he'll ever be on the show or not. But
well, that was my first time meeting Jeff, and my understanding is that he left pretty early on. I didn't sit with. I mean, I believe they were sitting. There were 3 sets of seats. I believe they were sitting in the far right set of seats, And I really didn't see them after the opening. Like they
Right.
kind of disappeared. I mean, they gave the front row to people who were relevant to the championships, right? So it was kind of surprising that they put them all the way over there. I figured they would have been front and center, but that's not how they did it. In fact, front and center, I believe, if I'm not
all
mistaken.
the cosplayers, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm pretty sure the very front and center was just like people that they pulled out of line that were in costumes, you know, and then after that it was people who were finalists like myself and I can't remember who all was there from. Honestly, like it's been too long. I can't even remember who was there at the time. But then that was when I met Vince, and that was when I met Trey. And Trey had on a 94 jacket, which was awesome. You know, so for me, whenever I see anybody in a 94 jacket, I'm like, yep, you I have to talk to. Let's figure this one out. So, you know, it was kind of cool. And then of course some of the YouTube celebrities were put in the front too. Like I said, the Warp Zone guys were up there. And my plus one was Amanda, you know, my wife, and so we were hanging out there. So.
That was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, front row seat for one of the most exciting events, you know, like esports events. To me, of course, all of the Nintendo events are always fun because they tend to throw in stuff from the old school, and you know that's why I was so excited about it. So
it was fairly empty, but was there good crowd energy, you think, or was it probably not enough people to fill in that whole building?
I thought that it was. I mean, you had a better view than we did, but I thought that it was pretty full in that.
Oh, the lights were in my eyes. I could barely see. I heard my wife yell when I won my game, and after that, I was, you know, on my couch of doom, waiting for the next round, and I was not really paying attention to the audience too much. But when you watch like the Disney replay, and they show that shot of filling up the thing, but then they stop when it gets about halfway back. And I remember when we were leaving, we were, you know, high-fiving everybody up the aisle, and there's like, you know, the balcony was completely empty and the back part was completely empty. It's like, maybe they went a little too big for that theater, but
maybe.
You know.
Yeah,
it is difficult to get people to show up to things in LA even if it's free because there's just so much to do there.
It's a huge theater too.
Yeah.
The Nokia Theater. Well, at the time it was the Nokia Theater.
They just renamed it to Microsoft. Yeah, it was ironic that we were at the Microsoft.
Right.
Hey, Microsoft's a partner to Nintendo. Don't forget.
Yeah. At the time, maybe not as much, but yeah, it was kind of funny.
Right.
And I guess they did some of the E3 stuff this week for the Microsoft Theater, so I thought that was
interesting. Well, as an audience member, I remember just being confused a lot of the time of what was happening in the games. You know, some of the games were new games. You know, what was the game that was like the soccer game?
Oh yeah, the last ball.
Yeah, I was like, what is this?
Right.
So then I was like, oh, I'm kind of glad that I'm not on stage embarrassing myself playing one of these games.
Jeez.
Like had I gotten to Smash Brothers, I would have gotten, you know, destroyed. I do not like that game. But I'm just not good at it. But
yeah, how have you done, Packie? Would you have you made it to? Had you done Balloon Fight okay? Would you have been okay at Smash Brothers, or would you just have been dead meat?
I know I was no match for numbers. Nobody was, but that's beside the point.
Right.
I played Smash with numbers the night before, and he destroyed me constantly.
Right. Well, it would have been a battle for second place. Do you think you might have taken out Trihex or sneaked in past Mad Mage?
Not likely. I mean, if I played my best game, I probably still wouldn't have gotten through it.
I'd be good with them removing Smash from the roster entirely, because it's such a different skill.
Yeah.
At that time, my main was random, so.
Well, go back to remember Blast Ball though, when they made us play. We were playing that thing backstage. They gave us like 15 minutes to try it out.
Yeah.
And we had to sign NDA agreements, and we weren't allowed to take pictures, and you know we had no food, and we had to be there at like, what was it, 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. or something ridiculously early, and just sit around and wait. And it was this nervous tension. We were playing this stupid game, and we're all trying to pretend it's a cool game, and it really wasn't. I remember when they announced it, there was like world premiere, and then like one person went, "Woo!" It was so, and you were on a losing team, but you ended up squeaking by because they had that weird. It was teams of 3. But they took the top 4, so like the best performer of the losing team got to advance, and you had like a save or something.
I had an assist and then I had a couple of blocks at the end.
Oh wow.
Which basically means I stood in front of the goal and took the giant ball to the face.
Hey, well, if it works, it works.
And it was like, who were you playing? Like, who was your teammates?
It was me, Fernando, and Timsy playing up against Numbers, Jordan, and Mad Mage, I believe.
Ooh.
Wow.
Damn Numbers.
And
God.
If you recall, like the YouTube video of the NWC, you hear after the first goal about some seismic high fives going on.
Oh.
Because we had scored the first goal, and in that moment, I was thinking to myself, I just rolled through Splatoon, and we just scored the first goal in Blast Ball, and I'm just getting so pumped up, and it's just ridiculous. I'm like high five, and I'm like, let's go!
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
So good.
And then like somebody on the other team just like scores on us within 5 seconds after that. Like,
oh, yeah, there goes that.
Oh.
I guess I'm just glad that somebody from one of the Best Buys won, John Numbers won, rather than one of the invited people,
Yeah.
Like, I think that would have been strange if an invited person won.
Yeah, I don't think any of the invited people were. I mean, maybe there were 2 of them that I could see doing well, but overall, I mean, I don't think anybody was going to really beat Numbers that year. He was on fire.
All of the invitees who weren't like celebrities were like, they all had like their one specialty, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like Trihex was all about platformers. Narcissa was like a Zelda speedrunner. Essentia did like RPGs, I think.
Yeah.
Sinister's Mr. Punch Out, and now he's into Rockman stuff, but that doesn't really. Like, I guess he was a Super Metroid speedrunner too, but like he wouldn't have excelled at the regular Nintendo stuff. He would have done great at the underground stuff, which he did win his round, and then I don't know how he did in Balloon Fight, but obviously, he got tripped up by just like everybody else did. And TMR was all about NES games. Again, he's not playing Splatoon or Mario Kart at 200cc or anything like that. So maybe Trihex had the best chance, but he blew it in Smash Brothers, and that was he probably would have. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm glad that it was interesting that it was one invitee Cosmo and one one regional winner in a finals, and Numbers had his way pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's one thing that I do love is that they really did have a good range of games, so that you can't be a specialist,
Right.
Like a Metroid specialist, that's not going to cut it, So I do like that they do that.
Yeah.
So and then I'm here with Packie because I'm trying to share some 15 stories. It's a disjointed. We got the CTWC stuff. I got the Dr. Mario stuff.
Yeah.
But when we were backstage, and it sounds like I'm complaining about the event, and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying compared to everybody else's experience, I think we just got cut short with a lot of things. Like they gave us lunch, and then they brought in like a tray of food between lunch and going out on stage. But we just ate lunch, so nobody's going to eat any of that, right? And then we get backstage after the tournament because we're not going back to our room in the basement because we're just immediately backstage for the tournament. And then we get downstairs, they want to hold us there so that Disney could get their interviews in, but they took away our food, so we're like freaking starving.
Yeah.
And they took our food away.
Oh,
and
man.
like the Disney people are all apologetic, like, oh, here, let's see what we have, and they're pulling out like their lunch leftovers and stuff. It was really sad, and like Jovenshire wanted his interview first because he wanted to get the hell out of there. and we're all like hanging out, having a good time and taking selfies finally because it was pretty tense. Would you say beforehand? Let me talk about your experience. I talk too much anyway.
Well, if there was a lot of tension, I didn't necessarily feel it because I remember loaning TMR my 3DS about 15 times waiting for time to begin. Because I felt like I pretty much had the route down and I knew what I wanted to do, and I had my execution down well enough where I wasn't getting hit all the time in Zelda. So I just let him keep playing and I didn't worry about it. I mean, I could have sworn like either Sinister or John Numbers just kind of fell asleep in the middle of the floor in the green room.
Power down now.
But we weren't really like, there wasn't a lot of camaraderie. It was kind of weird because I asked about taking pictures and they were like, no. Like, oh, okay.
What?
Like, because I didn't want to like live tweet or anything like that, but I just want to document what we were doing back there. And that was my secondary goal other than winning the tournament, which I knew I wasn't going to do. But I put on a brave face that I had a chance. But I wanted to like, this is what it's like backstage because I knew that this stuff didn't get documented very well. And we didn't really get the chance to do that till after the fact. And like we ate lunch like 2 doors down. This is all in the catacombs in the basement. And Miyamoto's at the table next to us eating lunch with some of the other execs, but he's with his kids. And we're all like looking at each other like, that's Miyamoto over there. Should we say something? We're all like, nah, we don't want, he's with his family. Let's not interrupt. And we're all really quiet. We're just whispering. We're not really talking very loud because it's in one of those kind of smallish rooms that if you talk too loud, it would echo and people would probably stare at you. And it was like, this is the best and this is the worst at the same time. Like, were you at my table, Packie? Were you at my table for lunch? Yeah, like it was like you and me and Sinister, and we're all trying to have a conversation.
I could have sworn I was sitting next to Mad Mage at some point, but I don't remember.
Yeah, and but like I had a Sharpie and a copy of Super Mario Brothers in my pocket for Miyamoto to sign, and I couldn't get to him. And he came out on stage at the very end, and he like shook some hands in the front, and there like a big wave of people came up like they were going to eat him, and they pulled him off stage like Secret Service. The Nintendo Secret Service like pulled him out of there before he knew it, and I couldn't even get an autograph from Miyamoto. But yeah, I know. So many missed opportunities, but
2019.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Might be too late for that one. Maybe 2020.
All right, 2020.
Yeah.
But tell me about they gave us tickets at E3, although Best Buy gave us tickets at E3, not even Nintendo, which I thought was interesting. And they didn't pay for our lodging until E3 started, so we had to like pay for our own hotel for Monday night. Like they paid for, was it Saturday or Sunday? It was the tournament was Sunday. They paid for Sunday night. And then we stayed a couple extra days. I hung out with Vince a bit. He drove us to E3. But like Packie, like you and Jackson and Tim were like kicking ass on the Blast Ball demo. Nintendo booth.
It was actually funny because we all played together and like someone practically beat us at it.
Wow.
They did?
Someone almost beat us at it. I don't remember like names or anything, but it was a 3-2 game, and it was actually pretty close. I drove up to E3 all 3 days from my house.
Wow.
Oh, jeez.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, hotels are expensive.
Yeah.
And I remember the first
like
day I found you. Drive. We were both wearing our shirts in the lobby, and I found you. And yes. I had just found out they were letting us in early because we had like the vendor badge. We weren't
the exhibitor badge.
So we could go in early, and like, dude, let's go in early. He's like, oh, we can. So we finally go in, and we get to check everything out before all the madness of people rush in and stuff. Yeah. And what was the story about Jackson like trying to get all the pins at the Nintendo booth? Is that better? Did Tim tell that story better?
He probably tells that story better because I really don't know that story, but.
Well, we'll save it when we get to go. Jackson's pretty notorious. He was.
Nintendo always has good scavenger hunts for toys and cool stuff like that.
I was there and I got to play on the stage. I got to play Super Mario Maker on the stage and I got that gold coin you were talking about.
Yeah, yep, that's how. Yeah, absolutely, me too. That's awesome. So I got that.
I Star stood Fox there and made eye contact with them. They just picked a random person from the crowd. And
you just have that. You were one of the long bars. You stood out.
Who's that dog?
I had the jacket and the shirt on purpose, which is why he grabbed me. So yeah, I figured if I stood out, he's like, hey, Nintendo World Championships guy, you should come up here and beat this. And I was like, great. So I came up there and won the coin. I'm like, yeah.
I think I waited around. There was one guy before me or somebody before me that did it. And then they were like, we're going to do another one in 10 minutes or something. I was like, it's going to be me. I'm going to be, it. Or it's not it. Yeah.
Nice. I felt self-conscious because I had my shirt on, and so you're like a best of the best. You were just in this competition the other day, and they had the Mario Maker, but the stage from the NWC, but it was from New Super Mario Brothers, which I have like zero experience with, and it was the first portion. You have to do like the bunch of the wall jumps, and I'm like, oh crap! So I start this, and I'm failing. I'm because I never played the damn thing. It's like I'm just gonna put this down and get away.
Yeah.
I had like one. If had I done the Mario 1 stage, the Mario 3, the Mario World, I've been great. But I had no timing with those mechanics with those wall jumps. So bad story. So it was a good thing I was doing that before the crowds got in there too. So it was I can't imagine what the lines are like once the actual people started showing up, because we had tickets our plane tickets were for that night, so we were only there for like an hour or two, and we left pretty early. But yeah, I got to say I went to E3 once, and I can't say I was super impressed with it, but it's throw that on a resume, I guess.
E3 was amazing many years ago, but it's a shadow of what it used to be.
Right. I'm sure in the internet age now, it's all about people making connections rather than people going and getting excited about games. It seems like.
Yeah. For me, it's a work event for me.
Right.
I just don't understand waiting in line to watch a commercial that's online the same day.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you what?
Yeah. Back in the day, I mean, I've been going since the 90s, and back then they were actually showing stuff that wasn't going to be shown for months, because they're trying to get buyers to want these products. Nowadays, they have a Fortnite booth. It's like, what do I need a Fortnite booth at E3 for? Like, that doesn't even, so it's not what it used to be.
I saw the Fortnite booth for this year, and there was like a sort of like a wipeout thing, a bunch of padded obstacle course. Or thinking, what does that have to do with Fortnite? That just,
It's just what it is. It's become Comic-Con for video games.
Oh,
that's all that it is now.
I guess.
Yeah.
Do they pretty much let anybody in now? Or
you can get a gamer pass now. So the way that it works, industry people can get in for the first couple hours before the gamer passes, and then at 2:00 they let in all of the gamers, and then the floor is so flooded you can't even walk around.
Yeah.
So. But I'm surprised it even still exists. I mean, at this point with the internet and everything else, it doesn't even have an audience these days.
Right.
So who knows if it'll be around in the next few years. I know that their contract ends soon with LA Convention Center, and there's talks about them moving it probably to Vegas or something. Maybe that could change things, because people are more excited in the industry about going to Vegas than they are LA. So.
Wow, this has been a fun talk, guys. I'm glad we got the rivalry sparked up. Come see us August 2nd, Replay FX. We're gonna have some hardcore Dr. Mario on the NES going. We're gonna have some Tetris going on Sunday. We're gonna have a puzzle game gauntlet on Friday night.
All right.
Yeah, so it's all the crappy puzzle games on the NES are going. We'll have some Tetris 2. We'll have some Yoshi.
Puzznick
isn't terrible.
Oh, Puzznick's a great one.
I love Puzznick.
And then within Puzznick, there's that Gravnik game.
Yeah, Gravnik inside of Puzznick. Yeah.
The completist over there. So do you have an NWC cart too, Vince?
I do not. I have one of the repro ones.
Okay, but yeah, that doesn't really count for a complete collection anyway.
Oh.
No, it wasn't released.
So I'll ask you one nerdy collector question. What did you pay for your stadium events, and what year was that?
I don't actually have the NTSC one. I have the PAL version. I think I paid $300 for it. I have no idea what it goes for nowadays. That was maybe 6 or 7 years ago when I got it. I've had a couple chances to buy a stadium events complete. There was one I almost bought for $12,000, and then I almost bought one for $16,000, but I bought a car instead. So
it's being all practical.
It's a 99-cent game. It's world-class track meet. It's just a different title screen and label. I
agree with you completely, but yeah, people like it.
That's the part of collecting that just gets me. It's like, dude, it's a variation. But it's your money. I know.
I mean, I'm a collector. I get it. So
I get it to a degree, but that much money just okay. But I just see cars and mortgage payments and that sort of thing. And
I'm the same way. So I don't know, I feel kind of weird every time I say I have a complete collection, and then I have to like put the asterisks on myself, like PAL complete, stadium events, and then they're like, "Well, do you have an NWC?" I'm like, "No." And they're like, it almost doesn't validate me, invalidates myself.
Well, the NWC cart isn't really considered part of the collection because it wasn't released, so you can put that one to bed. You're fine.
No, I mean, I don't care. I mean, I had chances to get one of those, back in the 07 or something like that. They were going for like 1,000 or 2,000 at that time. Right. Same with stadium events. We're going for under 1,000 card only. Mm-hmm. I was just like, that was when I bought like a Panic restaurant for $60. Right. I thought I was like, oh man, I spent so much money on that. Now it's like what, a $500 game or something?
Easily, yeah.
So just like, I thought I overpaid.
Yeah, I bought a Bonk's Adventure back in the early '80s for $20.
Yeah.
And my friend, that movie Nintendo Quest came through Columbus, and my friend JD was the villain in that movie. He was like the guy who was undercutting the heroes of the movie, but it was all a gag. He was trying to pretend to be Billy Mitchell in it. And but they did the premiere in Columbus because he was, they came through Columbus, and at the end of the thing there's like the Power Tour extras, and I gave him my copy of Bonk's Adventure because JD was the guy who helped me at NWC in 15, because he was like my backup, like look at these tweets. He had like the phone up, like looking up all the damn tweets, like look, out in San Francisco they're on replay. So he was my guy who helped me get in 15. So I owed at least something like that to him, and I still do to this day. So shout out to JD.
What's up, JD?
Yeah.
I love JD because he's got the Burger Time world record, right?
Yeah, he's previous. I don't think he's got the current one, but he knows the pattern to get the munchies or the baddies to.
Oh man,
it's kind of mesmerizing to watch that crap, that he can put them all together and just play for hours, and one at a time just get the 8,000. It's like, oh wow. So
yeah, I like Burger Time, but I've never been able to figure out how to do that. I've tried a lot.
Right.
I've watched his video and I just don't. It just doesn't work.
And 1 year at Hexadecathlon, we played the Intellivision version, which is kind of like the most famous home port of the game, and the patterns are completely different, and he couldn't play for shit. So.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's funny though. Like Mr. Burger Time, what's the problem? But we love Jake. former Hexadecathlon champ, just like Packie's the current champ now. So where's your belt, Packie? Is there in your
one moment?
One moment. Got to show off the belt. Normally we show the trophy reveals on our show, but since we have no trophy winners, we'll just show off my crappy belt that I put together for $5. But it's traveled the country.
Walter Day Award.
You got
that's right. Yeah, congrats on that.
Right here.
You got the crappy Game Boy games, and Timsy put his Iowa Hawkeyes logo on it. So I expect some Stay Classy San Diego stickers on it or something.
There we go. Cool.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about what I'm gonna put on it.
It's very, very important stuff.
Yeah.
So
Game Boy Tetris 2 on there just for you.
Oh, Tetris, yeah.
Oh wait, I got a trophy. I got my second place runner-up teardrop.
Oh nice. Yeah, the Dr. Mario trophies. I found one in this catalog at this place I go to get my trophies made. It looked like a pill.
Oh, that's awesome. Nice.
The salty teardrop for being second.
Salty teardrop. I'm into it.
I love it. That's
I
awesome.
just play it. It gets people see it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
This has been great. I'm glad you guys came on the show with us. It's always good to hear the stories from other perspectives, and we really appreciate you coming on and kind of sharing your perspective with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No problem, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course.
We will see everybody in Portland.
Yeah, we'll see you in Portland
or Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Come.
Well, definitely
come to both.
Portland.